Hello everyone. This is your friend from Naruto Audio Fanfics, and we are back once again with a brand new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto Uzumaki was chosen by Aureliana, the sister of the circles, and became loved and feared, part 3. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to hit the like button, thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel for more amazing Naruto fanfics like this. So without wasting any more time, let's start today's fanfic. The day after Naruto left Konoha, a massive change took place. The final report count a total of 149 members of Root were killed. Nobody had realized Danzo had that large of a force. 59 of them had been killed by the Sandaime, Jiraiya and the regular Root members. Danzo had successfully fled the village with what remained of his members. The two elders have been locked up for treason. As for the rest of the council, the third decided Tsunade's decision at the moment she revealed herself was the right one. Konoha is a ninja village, and all the civilians that have been on the council had no idea what the true life of a ninja was like and should not be allowed to decide how to affect it. The clans all were allowed to remain members, and 2 extra seats were set up for the future. One for the Uchiha clan seat and the other for the Namikaze clan seat. Both would be vacant for the moment. Speaking of Namikaze clan, the third made a public announcement as to Naruto being the son of the 4th Hokage, which came as a shock to a lot of people. The events of Danzo and the council treachery were also announced. Each of the genins that were in the battle were all given the next few days off, and each of their families had been notified. Sakura left with Tsunade and Shizune at dawn without any trouble. In fact, Tsunade asked for her to come since Sakura knew her fighting style and would make an excellent sparring partner. Kakashi and Sasuke also left around an hour later, with Sasuke believing it was a special decision for him to get one-on-one training, and he had not known about what happened with Sakura or Naruto of even care. The Hyuga clan, after hearing how many people died from their Taijutsu moves, had an interesting meeting. Flashback. Hinata walked into the Hyuga council chamber and asked, "What is it you need of me?" in a polite voice. One elder asked, "You are to spar with your sister immediately. We believe that your performance yesterday was an accidental fluke and that you are actually making the Hyuga clan look weak by helping that boy." Hinata looked at the elders with a smile on her face and said, "Go yourself, you senile old windbag," shocking the elders. One of them said, "How dare you speak to us like that? We will not stand by and have you talk to us elders so disrespectfully. Begin the seal ceremony immediately." Hinata smiled even wider and started laughing, a cold, fearful laugh that would make Orochimaru run away, as she unleashed a massive amount of ki and said, "I am afraid that is not possible, council members. You see, for the last 5 years I have already had a modified seal put on me, so that way when I left this clan you would be powerless to touch me. You see, I have long since decided I don't want to be a member of a clan who will soon follow the path of the Uchiha clan into extinction by being separate, and have already been accepted as a fiancé to another clan of my choosing. Now if you so much as try and add another seal to me or modify the one I have, it will result in one thing only. You want to know what that is?" One who had narrowed his eyes and finally gotten over the key asked, "And what might that be, you little wench?" Hinata said, "Everyone who has the same genetic bloodline markers as me will immediately have their bloodline sealed off and go blind thanks to this seal, and since I am a member of the main family means everyone in the Hyuga clan has the same genetic bloodline markers as me, and since you brought my little performance from yesterday into play, let me tell you something. I have faked my skills so father could train my sister for the position as heir since the day she was born. I have secretly trained and taught myself every form of the Hyuga taijutsu I could, and have even created several new ones as well. I killed a total of 29 Root member yesterday in less than 10 minutes, and I was not the least little bit winded, so I can assure you I could pull an Itachi should you little pencil try and with me. Oh, and by the way, here's a little sample for calling me wench." And before anyone could blink, Hinata had made hand signs, and a conjunction appeared behind each of them and hit every one of the council members in the back of their heads where the blind spot is, and knocked them out. Hiyashi came barging in when he returned home, fearing for his daughter's safety, hearing about and only to sweat drop as he saw Hinata buffing her fingernails sitting on a desk looking bored as the rest of the council was knocked out. He asked, "What happened here, Hinata?" Hinata said, "The little pissants ticked me off, threatening to seal me off and called me a wench, so I basically gave them a reason to fear me. By the way, this is for you." As she tossed him a scroll she pulled out of her weapons pouch. Hiyash, not knowing what's going on, never seeing his daughter like this, asked, "What is it?" Hinata said, "It's the designs for the new Hyuga seal that I already have on, as well as my official removal from the Hyuga clan. I am sorry for fooling you into thinking I was weak, but I needed you to focus on Hanabi. I had already decided a long time ago I would be married off, and I have already gotten into an agreement with another clan, one of my choosing along with a few others, and I want you to know I love you, father, and don't blame you. If you need me, I will be moving in with Kurenai Sensei until the clan I am marrying into is ready for me, but don't worry, everything will be fine. Oh, and in case these bastards mention the seal I made to make all Hyuga go blind, it's not real, but they don't know that, and the only way they can find out is if they attack me, which could cause Konoha to go into a civil war. It's my little trump card, so I know they can't touch me. I don't hate the clan, but I think it needs to be changed, father, and I think the council needs to be shown the errors of their ways. Please look after Hanabi for me. Good ye, father." As she walked out, leaving a speechless Hiyash, which is something that never happens. End flashback. Yeah, Konoha has had a unique time. Ruby has started tracking each of the girls and training with them when possible, which seems to be a lot of the time. Ino and her team began working to improve themselves. The battle the day before showed how weak they all were. The same could be said about Team 8. Kiba and Shino had began working on learning new skills to improve where they stood at now. The fact neither could kill anyone the day before hurt their pride, well, Kiba's anyways. Shino just wants to become more than a support fighter. Time skip. Now back with Naruto. It has been a week since Naruto has left Konoha. After creating an army of Kajbunshians and having them split into every direction possible, he had lost his little tail, whoever it was. Naruto himself headed east from Konoha, and after a day's travel soon came to the sea. After walking the coast for a day, he came to the shrine marker that Ruby had told him about and had walked across the ocean for nearly 4 hours. If not for his ungodly chakra reserves, he would have had to swim, since he did not know where the nearest town was or if any ships went to the island. After the first 3 hours, he saw his land, and all doubt that he was walking to his death was washed away as he approached the island. He had no idea what the name of the island was, but he knew in the center of the island was where he was heading. After making across the ocean, it took him another half a day by treetops to make it to the only mountain on the island. Like most islands, this one was made from a volcano. Naruto now was standing on top of the mountain looking across the valley and thought, now how do I get down there? I don't see any way out of the valley or into it besides using chakra to go down the walls, but if civilians could get inside to make it to wherever the temple is, there must be another way. Well, good thing I am not a civilian. As he starts walking the inside of the volcano cone. Naruto was about halfway down when he lost all use of chakra and screamed, "Ah shit," as he fell from the side of the walls nearly 400 feet below and hit the ground, passing out from the pain. When Naruto woke up, he found himself right where he fell and thought, what the hell happened? It felt like I lost all my chakra, but I couldn't have. As he started to push himself up, feeling himself heavy and could not really move. He felt weak and tired. After about an hour of trying to move, he passed out again. When Naruto awoke the next time, he looked around and found he could move a little more than he could last time, but it was still hard. He slowly got to his feet and slowly looked around and thought, okay, next time I get directions from Ruby on a place, I must remember to ask what little tricks the place has. My chakra is not working at all. Hell, I don't even see a temple in this valley. It looks like everything here is basically dead or destroyed. As he now got a good look and noticed that there were white marble stones thrown across the valley and all the were uprooted and dead. It was a definite battle took place here some time ago because of all the vegetation growing around the place. Naruto slowly made his way toward the center of the valley, thinking if the temple still was there he would find it in the middle. Half an hour later he made it to the center of the valley. It was not a big valley, only a mile wide in diameter, but he was still having trouble moving, as well as the fact he felt so weak. When he got there, Naruto looked around and saw the steps where a temple once stood, but no temple was seen. Naruto sighed and said out loud, "What now? I come all this way here on a wild goose hunt." A voice said, "A wild goose hunt, huh? What makes you so sure?" Making Naruto look around frantically, trying to find the person. Seeing no one, he asks, "Who's there?" A red fox walks out from behind a dead tree and said, "I am." Naruto asks, "Who are you and how can you talk?" a little unnerved by the fox appearing. The fox said, "When you want someone's name, you should introduce yourself first." Naruto rubbed the back of his head sheepishly and said, "I am Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze." The fox snorted and said, "No, you're not." Naruto got mad and said, "Yes, I am, you dumb fox." The fox laughs and said, "Dumb am I? I know who I am, but you do not know who you are. That is why you came here. To try and find who you are, not who others think you are. Am I correct, boy?" Naruto narrowed his eyes and said, "Yes, how did you know that?" The fox said, "You don't remember me, do you, boy? We met once not too long ago when I had you look into my eyes." Naruto thought a moment, and a flashback of the scene where he awoke in his mind appeared, and he said, "You're that guy who helped me with my bloodline." Not really sure if he believed this all. The fox nods and said, "Correct. I knew you would come here, but I had not anticipated you coming so soon." Naruto asked, "How did you know I would come here? Hell, even I don't know where here is, so how could you possibly know?" The fox said, "Simple, you want answers to questions you have. The only place you can think to get those answers is at the place where it all began. In other words, the temple of Inari." Naruto asked, "Are you Inari?" Trying to figure out how someone could be in his mind and outside also. The fox laughs and said, "No, boy. I am not Inari. I do work for him though, and so do you, or you will." As he looked off into space, seeing something that Naruto couldn't. Naruto looked where the fox was looking and asked, "So do you have the answers I seek, and what do you mean I work for Inari?" The fox sighs and said, "So many questions, so little time. To answer your first question. No, I can't answer you. Only you can answer them. I am merely here to give you the tools to understand the answers. As for the second question, you will have to take that up with Inari when you meet him. I can't tell you more than that for now." Naruto sighed and asked, "So then what are these tools you can give me? I want to hurry up and leave. I need to get stronger faster." The fox looked at Naruto and said, "All right, you want answers, you scratch my back and I will scratch yours. I will give you the answers, but you must do something for me. Deal?" Naruto asked, "What is it I must do?" The fox said, "Simple, restore the valley to how it looked before that battle." Naruto sweat drops and asked, "Are you crazy? I don't have time to do that." The fox shrugs and said, "It's your choice. You can't leave until it's done, and I won't help you unless it's to work on restoring the valley." Naruto grabs his hair in frustration and said, "That's it, I am leaving." The fox said, "Good luck. You can't use chakra to stick to the walls, and they're all smooth where you can't climb out, and the only way to find the real entrance and exit is to rebuild the valley. Sucks to be you. Wake me when you get it in your head that you have no choice but to listen to me." As he walks over and lays down on the log and goes to sleep. Naruto leaves and tries to find a way out, and soon discovers the fox was right. 2 hours later, Naruto sighs and said, "All right, fox, I give. Tell me what to do so I can hurry up and leave." The fox smiles and said, "Well, the first thing you need to do if you don't want to starve to death or die of thirst is to fix the river where you can get fish and fresh water. When Ruby, as you call her, and the others fought, the river was dammed up by accident, and like the rest of the valley is needing fixing. Good luck on the manual labor." As he laid back down and went to sleep. Naruto growled as he soon went looking for the river. An hour later, Naruto found the dried up river bed and started to follow its path, and soon sweat drops as he finds himself back where he started. He asks, "What the hell? Where does the water come from? This dried up river bed is nothing but rocks, and I don't see anything to feed the river." The fox, who came over to check his progress, said, "Well, the answer is simple really. It gets its water from an underground river that comes up. You're just going to have to find what rocks are stopping the flow." Naruto screams, "But there's millions of rocks of all different sizes. How do you expect me to find the right ones?" The fox said, "Well, that's easy. Just take out all the rocks from the riverbed until you find the right one. Good luck." As he laughs and walks away, Naruto clenches his fist and said, "I am going to kill that fox. I just know it. Might as well get started." As he goes and starts pulling out boulders starting at around 10 pounds ones first before going toward the larger ones. Naruto lost all track of time. Hunger and thirst were forcing him to keep working. He could not find his supplies he brought with him, so he had no choice but to hope he got the river going before he died. Eventually Naruto got to the last 100 yards of the river, to where he would have made the full circle, when he found something that was different. Underneath a group of 50-pound boulders he found what looked like a little altar of some kind, with a statue of a male warrior, a fox, and a woman. Naruto thought, "What the hell is this things?" as he tried to get it out but could not move it. Sighing, he gets out of the riverbed and heads to find the fox to see if he can get some answers. When he found the fox, he was asleep where he was when Naruto first saw him and said, "Yo, Baka Fox. I found something strange in the river and I was wondering if you could come and tell me what it is." As he looked back to the river, the fox sighed and said, "Can't figure stuff on your own, huh? Very well." As he jumps down and heads to the river. When they got back there, Naruto gapes and said, "The river, it's." The fox said, "Good job, you fixed the river. You might want to catch you some fish and drink you some water. Hell, you might even take a bath, but since you don't have any soap, just scrub real hard with you hands." As he walks away, Naruto debates about killing the fox, but Decide's thirst and hunger were first, so he strips his cloths and runs to the river and jumps in and finds it's a lot deeper than it used to be, and he sees fish swimming around and catches a couple and drinks a lot of water, tasting how pure it was in size. As he gets out and discovers he needs to start a fire but can't find any dry wood to start one. Sighing, he has no choice but to make sushi out of them and eats them raw. Naruto, after he eats, soon passes out. When he wakes up, he rubs his eyes and asks, "No one really, how long was I out?" As he looks up at the day sunlight and can't tell because he can't see the sun, but since there was no orange or red in the sky, he could not tell if it was early or late. Sighing to himself, he heads to the fox and asks, "Okay, fox, what now?" The fox smiles and looks around and said, "Well, you can start off the next step by locating all the marble blocks and moving them closer to the temple. I don't know when the next storm will be, and you can't just hide in a log like I can, so you might as well start rebuilding the temple." Naruto looks around and said, "I can't do that. I mean, those blocks all weigh probably close to 500 pounds and some even more than that. If I could use my chakra, I could do it, but I can't without my chakra." The fox asked, "Why can't you use chakra? You got all the physical energy you need to use it, so what's missing?" Naruto blinked and said, "Well, trying to remember Iruka Sensei's lessons on chakra," and he said, "I need spiritual energy also to mix together." The fox nods and asks, "So what's stopping you?" Naruto grabs his head in frustration and said, "It's not working. I don't know why. It's like it's not mixing together or something." The fox said, "Yeep, that's exactly what's going on." Naruto blinks and asks, "What do you mean?" The fox sighs and said, "Do I have to spell it out for you, idiot? Your body creates all the physical energy you need to make chakra, but your own spiritual energy is not working with it, so why not use something else's?" Naruto scratches his head and said, "So I can use your spiritual energy," in an unsure voice. The fox jumps up and bites Naruto on the hand hard, making Naruto scream, trying to pry it off, and finally he lets go and said, "Sit down, idiot, and listen." Naruto rubbed his now hurt hand and sits down, not wanting to be bit Aegean. The fox said, "All right, you already know chakra can make fire, wind, water, lightning, earth, and other things, right?" Naruto nods and the fox asked, "Have you ever wondered why it can do that when none of those elements are present at the time it's made usually?" Naruto shook his head no, and the fox said, "All right, I will go slow to explain it to you. The reason chakra can do that is because your body learns to make each of those elements by copying the pattern nature naturally makes. Everything has spiritual and physical energy. Take a seed, for example. It is nothing when it first starts out but a physical form. That form has physical energy stored inside of it to help it get started, just like anything else in this world does. The only thing it needs is to borrow a little spiritual energy to get started. It borrows the energy from the earth and from water, mixing together with the physical energy it has, and sprouts a new plant. As it grows, it keeps borrowing the physical energy from the earth and the water. Sure, you can grow some beans in only water, but they never grow as healthy or strong as those that get earth also. You understand so far? Naruto said. I think so. You're saying that the earth and water are like the food for the seed, and that the physical energy the seed has in it is used to actually eat it, right? The fox blinked and said, close enough. Now, as I was saying right now, you are like a seed. You have all the physical energy you need. You already showed it by moving those rocks, but you don't know how to eat the spiritual energy to work your chakra, or else you could have just blown by that job in a few minutes, or even if you had learned what the spiritual energy of the water was like, you could have went right to the source instead of going all the way around that lake. Understand? Naruto thought a moment and said, yeah. The fox said, all right. Now that does not mean that you can just suck energy off of the world and become some kind of freakish monster powerhouse. It don't work that way. What I am trying to explain to you is how you can make your body remember the feel of water or earth and use them in jutsu to help you or aid you along by slightly manipulating them. You can't force nature to do what you want. You can work with it or bend it a little. Take that river for example. You can dam it up, but does that stop the river from flowing? No. Eventually it will build up its pressure and blow by the problem or find a new way around the problem. You can change the path of a river with enough work, but you can't completely stop it. Naruto said. I understand now, but I don't understand how this will help me move these blocks. The fox said. Well, if you can find the way the earth's spiritual energy feels, you can borrow it to help you make enough chakra to aid you in moving those boulders. Now, not all of them will be able to be moved by hand, so you will have other things to learn also. Naruto asked. How can I tell what Earth's spiritual energy feels like and use it? The fox said. Alright, what you must do is put your hands on the ground. Close your eyes and use your other senses to tell you it's the earth. As a ninja, you should know the lesson of know your surroundings. Your eyes can and often do fool you. You become so reliant on them you let your other senses go and weaken yourself. If you can get your taste, touch, sound, sight, and smell all to recognize the earth for what it truly is and not what your eyes alone is telling you, then you can develop a sixth senses that will allow you to tell if something is disturbing the earth or whatever the element is. Now what I want you to do is stop telling yourself the ground is what it is. Have your body tell you what it is. Good luck. Naruto sat there with closed eyes trying to figure this out. He rubbed his hand across the dirt and at first thought it was nothing noticeable. Slowly though, he felt the dirt having a little rougher texture. The texture then turned to shape and slowly he could tell the ground feel differed from when he felt a small pebble. He then started to notice he could tell the pebbles and other objects from the dirt. It was not much, but it was a start. Naruto, while he did this, wet his lips, and for some reason he could actually feel the granule of the dirt on his taste buds even though he never touched his lips with the dirt. Still working on this, he brought some of it to his nose and smelled it, and the smelled grass, pebbles, and then his self. At first it was just confusing, but when he tried to pinpoint the smells of each, it slowly started to take a more solid form to him. He then felt a vibration in the dirt and turned his head and said, "You back, fox?" in a questioning voice. The fox chuckled and asked, "So how's it going?" Naruto opened his eyes and stood up and wobbled a moment and said, "Whoa," as it felt like he went blind a moment. The fox asked, "What?" Naruto said, "When I stood up my vision was blurry for a moment." The fox chuckled and said, "It's because you had been focusing on the earth for so long now that when you opened your eyes to see the world around you, your body had to switch back to normal seeing and your other senses stopped working so hard to tell you what's going on. Now I think you might have enough of a grasp to try it now. Close your eyes, Aegean, and put your hands in a ram seal and focus on the earth while trying to mold your chakra." Naruto did as he was told and suddenly found himself feeling like he had chakra Aegean instead of being so weak. Not a lot, but enough to maybe use a hanger to help his sore muscles. He laughed and jumped into the air screaming, "Yahoo!" and then felt weak Aegean as he crashed down to the earth as the feeling left him. He asked, "What happened?" The fox said, "You lost concentration on the earth's spiritual presence when you jumped, so you lost your chakra. Now why don't you get started working on moving those boulders for the temple while you try it, Aegean? I want you to keep going until you finish getting them gathered together and don't stop. It will make it where you can learn better this way, and don't try any ninjutsu either. You would pass out." As he walked away, Naruto thought, "Learn better this way. Only thing I really am learning is how to use my chakra Aegean. Damn stupid fox and damn stupid valley, why can't I use my chakra normal, and why is it still so hard to move here? I don't have my weights on since I turned them off before moving to climb the mountain." As he moved to find the closest white marble stone. When Naruto found it, he sighed and noticed all the vines on it and weeds around it, and he also noticed it was partially buried. He sighed again and thought, no choice. If I don't do what he says, I won't ever make it out of here. As he got on his knees and start to use his hands to pull the dirt away from around the perfectly square block of marble. Naruto thought, I wonder how this thing is still in perfect shape from the battle. Oh well. As he continued to work. After getting the block unburied, and he got behind the other side and started to push. It was hard, and he soon found that if he did not use what little chakra he had, then he could not even budge it. Gritting his teeth in concentration, he got it up the little ramp and across the ground, having to stop a lot, and dug the earth up bad, making it look like someone just destroyed all the ground where the block was. He also had to stop so he could move things out of the way. When he got the first block, he then went to the next and the next and the next, stopping to eat when he needed to eat and drink, sleep when he passed out, and time seemed to be at a standstill as he never saw the sun overhead or the night sky either. He did not know how long it took him, but eventually he got them all together. When he was done, he sighed as he fell down panting and said, Hey you damn fox, I got what you wanted me to, so what now? The fox walked over and jumped on the block Naruto was leaning against and said, Look at this mess you made. This used to be a beautiful valley with green grass and trees, flowers, and all kinds of nature, but you destroyed it when you moved those blocks. Haven't you ever though to stop and use your head? You could have put those blocks on logs and rolled them here and never destroyed the valley. You damn idiot. Naruto looked sheepish as the fox insulted him and said, Hey, what does it matter anyways? The fox ground his teeth and said, You damn idiot, now you need to fix this before I tell you how to fix the temple. This is a holy place, somewhere that you just acted like any human and not give a damn about nature in the least. You only take, destroy, destroy, never thinking about what will happen after you're done. Well, you need to fix this now or else. Naruto looked down and sighed before asking, How do I fix it? I can't make grass grow, and how do I fix the ridges I dug, huh? The fox said, You use your brain for once. Stop thinking in what you have been told you can and can't do and look at what you can. You learned that you can use the earth to power your chakra. Well, it works the other way around also. You can give the earth your chakra as well and have limited control over it. The same with all elements. Wind, water, earth, fire and lightning all can be used. You just have to train yourself. Look, I am tired, so I am just say this. Do what you think you need to do to make this place the way it is supposed to be. If you do, then I will tell you how to leave. You're on your own now. Just think before you act. You're a kitsune now, act like one and use your cunning and trust your instincts. As the fox runs off. Naruto looked at the fox and sighed and thought, so I can use all 5 of the major elements like I did earlier with earth, huh? Let's see. I think wind or water would be good to learn next, since I got earth pretty good, I think. Wait a minute. Ruby said plants grew from water and earth. The fox said plant seeds grew from earth and water. If I can get the ground level again, then I can find seeds somewhere to make them grow. I hope. Naruto then walked over to the nearest messed up ground and sat down beside it and closed his eyes and felt the ground. He then thought, move, level, and he opened his eyes and sweat drop as nothing happened. Naruto sighed and thought, okay, how do I do this? I mean, what can I do to fix these spots? As he looked around and then he saw a log about 5 foot wide and thought, that might work, flatten the ground, but how do I move it? As he looked around some more. He then saw another log and it was by the river, and he looked around some more and then saw what looked like an old windmill for something, and he looked around some more and he saw some vines and some more logs. Naruto looked and thought, I remember reading something in a book once about something like this, but what did it say? That's right, it said something about using a windmill to power and a pulley to move water from the ground to a tree house. I might be able to do the same thing to move this log here to fix the ground, but first I would have to fix the windmill. I wonder what it was originally for. Naruto then walked over to the pieces of the windmill and sighed and said, well, you're not into good of shape. Looks like all the wood pieces have been broken apart, but the pulleys and gears are all okay. Maybe I can use some of these down trees to repair it. Naruto then pulled out a kunai and found some dead trees. After finding 4 long limbs that were around 20 feet tall each and at least a foot thick, he then gathered some vines and tied them together while still on the ground. He then used the kunai to cut 6 blades out of wood, which actually took a lot of time and made his hands bleed. He then cut groves to make them fit into the metal spokes of the old windmill. After that, he hooked 4 vines around the circle gear and got to work on digging 2-foot deep holes big enough for the legs off the windmill to set in. He then ran a couple of vines over to the log by the water and tied them to it and the other end of the vines to the windmill. After all that, he walked over and pushed the log into the water and watched as it got carried away into the current. The vines slowly took up slack and pulled against a down tree that Naruto had fed the vines through and slowly started pulling the windmill up while Naruto himself helped lift and move it. Unfortunately, he had no way to stop it once it stood in the holes and did not think it through as the windmill kept going and fell toward the water. As luck would have it, the windmill was not going back up with Naruto current skills, but the water wheel actually worked. Naruto sweat dropped and said, "Okay. Works for me," as he tied the loose ends of the vines to the log he wanted to move. He then used a little bit of chakra he could make and stuck to the log, weighing it down as it worked its way along the path he had laid the vines out to work. Once Naruto finished, the fox looked at Naruto and said, "Boy, you have the devil's luck. You know that. Well, good job, but what now? You made another mess with all those long logs, and also you got that log coming back around and will destroy your little, hee water wheel." Naruto got wide-eyed and ran to the river and saw the log heading back. Naruto then ran out into the water and grabbed the log only to be carried along with the current. He said, "Shit, what can I do?" as he tried to find a way to stop the log. His legs felt the vines that had broke after pulling the tower over, and he said, "Well, let's try water walking since I could stick to that log," as he tried to concentrate, but he could not since he was not touching the earth or was near it. Naruto then remembered what the fox said and he closed his eyes. Over on the bank, the fox thought, "So he's finally starting to think. Let's see if he can do it in time. I say 5 minutes at the current speed," as he watched what's happening. Naruto, when he closed his eyes, felt the water flowing against his body and he could smell the water and taste it and hear it as it moved along, calm, collected, smooth. Then he felt it. His chakra shot up at least 2 times stronger than that off the earth, and he grabbed the rope with his hands and then opened his eyes and found himself standing on the water. Walking toward the shore, he made contact with it and pulled the log back on the bank and then thought, "Strange, I can feel the earth and water chakra now, but they both feel the same. What's going on?" The fox thought. "He beat my estimate by 30 seconds. Well done, kid. That's 2 so far. Just 3 more and we can begin your real training. Too bad he's already wasted a month." As he frowned, Naruto looked around and said, "Well, I don't know about that fox, but if I can move a 100 pounds log with just water and those small blades, I wonder what would happen if I actually made a wheel for the water." As he walked over and started to grab more logs and then began to cut out 5-foot-long wood plats. He then made connectors and cut grooves to slide them in. When he was finished, he had a wheel around 10 foot tall spinning on the water about 6 miles per hour. Using the force of the wheel pulling, levages and ramps he rebuilt the temple. It was hard work, but he finally built it just in time for a storm to approach and lightning to come and began striking everything in the valley basically. The fox said, "You know, if I was you, this would make a good time to learn lightning and fire since those lightning bolts are sure setting a few." Naruto got wide-eyed and ran out into the rain and blinked, seeing at least 30 fires burning and somewhere getting close to the water wheel. He ran over and took off his shirt and started beating the fires with it, trying to put the fires out. Unfortunately, he got hit by a bolt of lightning, making him fly back and hit the water. Clearing his head, he quickly got up and ran over to try again to save the water wheel. At that moment, he felt a tingling sensation on his skin and, acting on instinct, dodged to the side as a bolt hit where he was. Standing up again, he felt that tingle again and dodge, dodge, dodge. This began a little game as he was only having time to recover from a roll before he had to dodge again, as it seemed the lightning was tracking him. After 2 hours of not getting hit, the clouds blew off into the distance and the storm left. Naruto, who was sweating and panting, looked around and saw that the entire valley was nothing but fire except for the temple, river, and the water wheel. Naruto thought, "I don't know how that is not on fire, but I won't look a good horse in the mouth." The fox smiled and said, Congrats, Naruto. You passed lightning. Naruto looked at the fox who was standing on the temple steps and narrowed his eyes and asked, "What do you mean I passed lightning?" The fox said, "I will tell you after you pass the last two. Fire and wind. All you have to do is figure out how to put that fire out. Good luck." As he went up in smoke, Naruto blinked and said, "That's it. When this is over, that fox is dead." As he looked around and thought, "How the hell am I supposed to put out this fire?" As he thought over everything and remember the fox saying something about taking energy from and feeding it energy. Maybe trying to use that will work. He then closed his eyes and found himself inside his mind and blinked and saw the three bodies of his bloodline all talking and he asked, "How did I get back here?" Greed said, "Look at the wall, you idiot, and put things together for once. I am tired of you wasting time on stupid shit." Naruto blinked and looked at the wall where Greed was pointing and went wide-eyed. There on the wall were four tails completely full. Naruto asked, "How?" Ichigo said, "Your special training you have been doing. When you learned to control the spiritual power from the earth, water, and lightning, they completed your tails." Naruto said, "But I don't know any lightning jutsu, so how is it that I have a lightning affinity?" Moroku said, "Think about it. When you were dodging them, how were you able to dodge them? You could not move when you saw the flash or the sound. You had to already be moving at that point or get hit Aegean. You learn quick in combat situations for some reason. In fact, that's one of the reasons we were all chosen to help you, since our training is best in combat situations anyways. Now as you can see, you're nearly to the point you wind chakra would be mastered, but you're just lacking in one skill. The actual understanding of the wind. Now get back out there and fight that fire." And Naruto found himself back on the temple steps. He thought, "Fine, let's play." As he closed his eyes and felt the earth, water, and in the distance lightning. He then felt the heat from the flames and heard a growling noise mixed in with the popping. He felt a breeze go over him and he then smelled it. The smoke. He could taste the ash in it and he then felt something being pulled and pushed in the fire. He opened his eyes and looked where he felt the pushing and pulling and saw the flames fighting each other. Looking at that spot, he heard the whistle of the wind howl through that spot and he smiled and laughed and said, "Oh, that's rich. I can't believe it is that simple. To fight fire, you fight it with fire." He then pulled the chakra he could from the earth, water, the distant lightning, and then he started to do hand signs. He could feel the drain on his system, but he ignored it, finishing the last one and said, "Kazukeshi, wind return." And a blast of wind went right down the middle of the fire, blowing away from the fire toward the sides, but as it hit the end of the valley it rebounded and came back, and when it did, the wind changed from blowing out to blowing in, and a tornado formed in the middle where the rebound and the straight blast met and all the flames were sucked into it. For those of you who don't understand what I just described, I made a backdraft. Naruto then looked and saw all the ash, and the fox who reappeared said, "Well, you stopped the fire from spreading, but now you have created a tornado of fire. What will you do?" Naruto walked closer to it and felt that his chakra was not being drained because the tornado had become self-stable. He closed his eyes and felt the flames and the wind and thought, "Fire needs fuel. The wind is its current fuel. Without it the fire should die, however it could explode, so I need it to implode on itself, but how?" A flash of the Rasengan flashed in his head and Naruto thought, "That's it. The wind is going clockwise, however if I have the wind go counterclockwise it should force the fire to stall and stop all wind inside of it. The problem is keeping it stable." As he starts making more hand signs and he finishes and said, "Kamedachi, cutting whirlwind technique," and waved his arms counterclockwise of the fire. As the two forces of wind met, there was a clash. The fire exploded out of the clockwise wind and was absorbed by the counterclockwise wind. However, since the clockwise wind had nowhere to go, it fought for the fire as well and together began smothering the flames. When it finished, he passed out. When Naruto awoke Aegean, he found himself inside the temple and he got up and walked outside and saw that the valley had been fixed and all damage from the fires were gone. Naruto looked at the fox and the fox said, "You have passed those tests. You are now a six-tail kitsune. You have learned to draw the strength of the elements and now should be able to learn any elemental jutsu with practice. All restrictions have been lifted from you. This does not mean you can just command the elements to do your will, but you can do jutsu to mold it to do what you want. Your physical training is also complete. You have not noticed, but your body has burned away all your baby fat. Your muscles are all chiseled from work and exercise. Your speed and power along with your pain tolerance has increased as well because I had reset your weights when you first got here. It has been a total of 3.5 months since you left Konoha. Naruto went wide-eyed and said, "Wait, how is that possible? I never saw the night once." The fox said, "I did that. I placed a genjutsu over the entire valley to make it appear always daylight. I was also the one who controlled that storm with my own jutsu knowledge. The reason you have not been able to use your chakra is because I have been using your spiritual energy with my physical energy to provide the chakra to cast the genjutsu. That is why I always was lazy, not using my own energy. Do you understand?" Naruto thought and said, "Yes, I understand by why go through all this work for something I could have learned on my own over time." The fox said, "That's why. Time. The way you were training you would have taken years to get where you are now and you would never have learned the true power of your bloodline." Naruto blinked and asked, "What do you mean the true power of my bloodline? I thought I already did." The fox said, "No, that was only the first stage. The same stage almost everyone who ever gets it has stopped at from being lazy and stupid. Only one has ever gotten to the second stage. He is the one who is also the most famous. Rokudo Sennin, the six-realm sage. If your bloodline allows you to control multiple bodies, why do they not call him six people instead of one? The reason is he went to the second and final level of it. It is time for you to also." Naruto said, "Oh. Okay, how do I do it?" 3 puffs of smoke appeared and the fox said, "You must defeat your bloodline. You're not controlling those men now. They are here to fight. They will try and kill you. This is the test to see if you are worthy of the bloodline. It's do or die. There is no try. There is no breaks. The only way to win is to kill them. Good luck." As he went up in smoke, Ichigo stepped forward and said, "It's time to begin your real training." As his sword changed into a big 6 feet tall sword instead of the 3.5 foot one he used to have. Naruto pulled out his trench knives and said, "Let's go." Greed charged, shocking Naruto, and Moroku said, "This is 3-on-1 kid, and you still can't use your normal chakra, so good luck," as he began to draw some sutras. Naruto said only one thing, "Shit," as he began the fight for his life. Naruto groaned as he rubbed his eyes and slowly sat up. Memories of the fight between him and his 3 other bodies flashed in his head. The flashes of him dodging, striking, weaving, acting on instinct to avoid bees, pooches, kicks, sword strikes, high-speed battle when the ground itself became blurs, fighting for survival and learn and to return the attacks they sent his way. Never thinking, just acting on instinct. It was a battle that lasted for who knows how long. Naruto thought, "I never knew you could do that with a sword, or you could walk on air like that, but I guess they were right. The best way to learn a skill is through combat and do it on instinct without thinking about it. Had I not accidentally learned to condense water in the air, Ichigo would have killed me the moment he began his long-range sword attacks. I don't think anyone ever thought of throwing such a big sword in their life." The last thing he remembered before passing out was a flash of light, and then he dreamed weird dreams about himself doing things he never did or dreamed to do. He looked around and found himself inside the temple and asked, "What the hell?" I passed out outside the temple on the ground. As he sat up, a voice of a woman said, "That is where I came in, young one. Please refresh yourself and meet me outside." As she turned and left him, Naruto blinked as he saw the black-haired woman leave, and he rubbed his head as he got up and walked to the restroom to refresh himself. After he was done, he walked outside and saw the woman sitting on the steps. He also noticed that the valley was completely fixed and as good as new. He asked, "Who are you?" The woman smiled and said, "Why ask questions? You already know the answer to, young one." Naruto scratched his head and narrowed his eyes and said, "You're Inari, aren't you?" The woman said, "Yes, got it in one try. Please sit and join me," as she motioned to the step beside her. Naruto sat down beside her and she said, "I know you must have many questions. I will be glad to answer them. I know the most important one to you must be why you write." Naruto nods and Inari said, "You are the end result of a mistake I made in the past. You have been told about how the girl you call Ruby became the Kyuubi. That day I let my emotions get the best of me and cursed those humans who had harmed those who followed me. I did not know that by doing so would result in the outcome that came with the destruction of the temple and the pain you had to endure in life. I then saw how your life ended correcting the mistake I made and decided that you were worthy of being blessed by me. That is why I traveled back in time and told Ruby the way she would be able to stay human Aegean as well as the blessing of friends I gave her so she could help you when things changed. I know you're wondering if I could go back in time, why not fix my mistake right? Well, the reason is once a being such as myself makes a direct involvement like I did that day in human events, I could not go back and change my mind. It's why beings like me don't interfere much in human lives because of the chance of it going bad. Naruto scrunched his nose and said, "So you gave me another chance at happiness for stopping the demons you created?" Inari nods and said, "Yes and no. I did it because you not only stopped them but also by other things I found were truly noble. I also have a confession to make about your bloodline. Remember when I told you that your ninjutsu was already good enough so I would not be giving you another body?" Naruto said, "I thought that was the fox guy and he said that he was not you. Were you lying or was he? This is really confusing." Inari laughs and said, "Well, in a sense he was telling the truth but also lying. I took his true form when I first visited you and gave you those bodies. That is why he said he met you but also that he was not me. It was like a half-truth. It was so you would not question me at that time. I did not want to reveal the truth about what I was really doing until you were ready." Naruto asked, "What do you mean what you were really doing and what was that about me being my own ninjutsu body?" Inari said, "Your bloodline allows you to bring to life the bodies of those who are dead who are considered the best of the best in each field of ninjutsu so you can learn from them and like you did fight them displaying what you learned from them so you would become the master in those arts. The trick is that when you looked into my eyes I pulled someone from different time periods in the world when those skills were the best for you. I sort of brought your future self back as your ninjutsu person since you were dead also in a sense. That is why I said you were the best. Why learn everything you already did once over Aegean?" Naruto blinked and asked, "Is that why I had that weird dream of thing I never did?" Inari nods and said, "That took care of your ninjutsu as well as fix the doubt you had in your mind about comparing to the future you that the woman claim they love. Ichigo was your kenjutsu, greed was your taijutsu, and Moroku was your blood jutsu. That still left your genjutsu." Naruto sighed and said, "So does that mean I will be getting another body to fight and learn from?" Inari said, "No, you already have. Remember the form I first took and the fox who said he was not me but only worked for me? He was the last 10-tail male kitsune who died nearly 6,000 years ago. I had him teach you with the help of genjutsu. That is why it was never dark when you fought and why he had you start thinking and working things out. Minding your surroundings and feeling the way of nature. Genjutsu is an art of deception in the subtle change in the area or mind. It's not enough to have high-powered jutsu if you don't understand the true basics to use them correctly." Naruto blinked and said, "Like I did when I was fighting the fire and the other things." Inari nods and said, "Very good. Now here is the final question you need to answer. Who are you?" Naruto blinked and went to open his mouth but stopped as he realized that this was the exact question that caused him to leave Konoha. Naruto looked up at the sky and said, I am Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, son of Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki. I am the former Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Kitsune. I am a male kitsune. I am me, no one else." As he smiled realizing who he was to begin with. A friend, images of the Konoha 12 and the Sand Sibs, a leader, the Konohamaru Corp, a hero, the people of spring, sand, wave, sea, tea and other countries, a brother, Gaara, Konkuro and Tsunade, and a loved one, as many different people who became his family and friends appeared in his mind. He stood up and said with more determination than he has had in a long time, I am Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, I am the #1 hyperactive knucklehead surprise ninja. I will find my true strength by protecting that which is precious to me. I will not back down for that is my nindo." Inari smiled and he saw the change in Naruto and said, "Then you are ready for your final test. You are currently a 9-tail fox. That does not mean you are as strong as Ruby was because the tails only represent the elements you control. Her strength came from hard training and a long life. You have unlocked the ability of fire, wind, water, earth, lightning. You may not know a lot of jutsu for them, but you can now use them without the learning curve most people's minds put on them by thinking that one is harder to learn than another. You are blessed by life giving you the first tail, which is what all living beings have, whether they are kitsune or humans. Kitsunes just show it proudly, bringing you up to a sixth tail. Now you have faced the three things that man has created themselves when they were first created: shadow, death, darkness, and doubt, and those who deliver it and thrive off of it: light. Those things that men believe are blessed by the gods and forever help them or are precious to people. And chuas, the deeds that men do against others for their own selfish desire to try to gain the one thing they never can have. The power of God. Naruto asked. If that is the 9 tails, what is the 10th tail? Inari got up and sat down behind him, putting her arms around him, and turned his head toward the valley wall where he could now see the entrance and exit, and she said, the 10th tail is not really an element or a special get-all-know-all thing. In truth, it is a mark of authority, like a cage has his hat and robes and a king has his crown. The 10th tail actually shows the world that you are my chosen avatar. You speak for me and act on my behalf, whether it be good or bad. It shows that I have faith in you. Naruto blinked and asked, if that's as what it is, then why do you not allow female kitsunes to have this power? I don't understand. Inari smiled and said, I chose only male kitsunes as my avatars because to the rest of the world, whether it's true or not, women are always considered weaker than men, though truthfully I don't see it that way, as I know several women stronger than any men, but the reason I only chose males is because I do not want the females to be pressured by men to do what they want them to do. Women often let their emotions cloud their better judgment on certain matters that I won't go into detail about, and I would not want those emotions to be displayed as my reasoning. I chose very carefully who I let become my avatar, but I won't lie. The truth is I have chosen a woman as one before. In fact, the form I am in now is of her form when she was my avatar. Sometime in the future I may take your form when I chose my next one or the one after that. Naruto asked. What exactly will I have to do if I am your avatar? Inari said. Protect my temple and followers, protect those I deem precious, be my eyes in the world, and protect your fellow kitsunes. Everything else is just you being yourself. Now I have a present for you, look. Naruto looked in thought as he looked at where Inari turned his head, and he saw 2 figures dressed as a monk and a priestess walking toward them. As they got closer, Naruto's eyes got wide and went to open his mouth but could not say anything. Inari said, since I gave you another chance, I decided to call in a few favors. These 2 will watch the temple while you are gone, doing what you must as your responsibility to Konoha last. I know you have years to serve there before you're ready to stay here and protect the temple and follow me, but since you are going to live such a long life, you can't live with normal mortals all the time. Eventually you and the others will fake your deaths for your friend's sake and then come here, so do you accept the power and the job I am giving you? Whether you agree or not, both these 2 here will still be here at the temple watching it. Naruto asked, will they still be here if I don't agree? The monk said, our lives are connected to yours, son. We will live as long as you do, but we are never allowed to leave this valley. To the rest of the world we are dead and such. Here I am, head priest Minato. The priestess runs and grabs Naruto and hugs him as she lets tears flow down her face and said, I am so proud of you, son. I am sorry I could not be there for you. Naruto went to open his mouth, but Inari said, Naruto, before I leave there is something I need to do. If you notice, there by the tree is 4 items that were left by Ichigo, Greed, Moroku, and the fox. They are their final gifts for you, since they will not be called forth by your bloodline any longer. Since you have mastered the final stage, you don't need the extra bodies. You still have a few of the special abilities they had for yourself, but you will have to draw on those powers like you did in the fight with them. The only real change is you won't have extra bodies any longer, but you will be able to use your Kajbunshin and others Bunshin's Aegean with your bloodline active, but if you die you will lose 1/10 of your chakra, so if you run out of chakra by dying 10 times in a row without having a chance to restore some, you will die, so there is no resurrecting yourself Aegean if that happens. Your other abilities is that any summon you kill you can summon yourself. You also get the perfect defense that Greed had, but you will have to make it out of an element like he did. His was metal and you would have to learn metal jutsu to use his, so I would suggest either earth, sand or something like that until you can control it with something like metal or wood or whatever. It's up to you to practice and figure out yourself. You also have the 11-second attack of Ichigo's, but remember that this has a price and it will take you a day to recover from it, so be careful with it. I don't know if there is anything else. You have the rest of the day to visit your parents here and prepare, but tomorrow you must leave the valley. This valley is in the land of Wave, and if you think about it, you know what is going on. Naruto thought a moment and his eyes got wide and said, Gato. Inari nods and said, Good luck, Kitsune. And she was gone in a flash of light. Naruto got up and walked over to the tree where the 4 items were, and he saw a pair of sunglasses, a set of prayer beads, a scroll, and a staff with a note on it. He blinked and read the note. Naruto. This staff is 2 weapons in one. To change it, channel chakra into it and see what happens. Naruto blinked as he picked up the staff and sent a small amount of chakra into it, and the priest staff turned into Ichigo regular Zanpakuto. Not his Bankai one, just the regular one with the white sash on it. He then saw a seal on the hilt and channeled chakra into it, and it changed back into a staff. He then picked up the scroll and read it and smirked to himself and thought, now that is so cool. He then turned to look at his mom and dad who were watching him, and he grabbed the sunglasses and the prayer beads and walked over to them. He smiled, and Minato pulled his son into a hug and said, Let's get to know each other. And so the rest of the day went getting to know one another and making up for lost time. 2 days later, Team 8 were asleep at the client Tazuna house when a knock came at the front door. Shino was the first to awaken as his bugs were on lookout for intruders when someone started to approach the house. He quickly got ready and alerted the rest of his team. When the knock came at 5 a.m. in the morning, Hinata activated her bloodline and Kurenai asked, What do you see, Hinata? Hinata frowned and said, I don't know, it appears to be a monk, but something is interfering with my bloodline, as she was ready for a fight. The client and his family were all in the kitchen behind them with Kurenai in the front, Kiba on the side with Akamaru, and Shino was sitting on the top of the stairs waiting to be a support unit if need be. Kurenai narrowed her eyes when she heard something was interfering with Hinata's bloodline and slowly walked to the door and opened it and saw a monk wearing a white robe and a straw hat with a bell on the side. He was 6 foot tall and holding a staff and wearing a pair of sunglasses. He had a set of prayer beads wrapped around his right hand and a pair of sandals on his feet. She asked, Who are you and why are you here? The monk smiled and said, Sorry for interrupting so early in the morning, but I am a follower of Inari and I have heard of the deeds the great Tazuna is doing to stand against the threat of Gato. In his hopes to help the lands, and I have come to bless him and his family for doing such a noble thing and ask to speak to them. Would you be his daughter Tsunami that I have heard about, and is that boy there with the dog the one whose name Sake my temple follows? Kurenai looked at the man and said, One moment please. I will see if Tazuna will see you, and no, I am not Tsunami. I am a ninja from Konoha. The monk said, Ah, the great leaf hidden in fire. I have seen that village once in my travel and was quite interested in that village ability to hold one of Inari chosen in their hands. Kurenai narrowed her eyes knowing exactly what he was referring to and said, One moment please, as she closed the door. She turned and said, Tazuna, there is a monk here who wants to speak with you and pray for you and your family. He says he heard about you. What do you want to do? Tazuna said, A monk wants to pray for me. Tsunami said, Let him in. I would feel better with the danger wherein if someone did pray for us. Tazuna sighs, hiding his sake he already grabbed, and Kurenai turned and motioned for the monk to come in. Once he came in, he bowed and said, Greetings, Tazuna. I am a monk from the temple of Inari and I wish to come and give you my thanks for what you are doing for the Wave country and also for the risk you are taking to make the land of Wave prosperous Aegean. Tazuna said, It's nothing really. I am only doing what I feel I need to do to stop Gato. The monk turned and said, May I ask why these ninjas are here? I mean, I only know a little of the situation here since I only recently left the temple and decided to come here when I heard about things. Is Gato that big of a threat? In a nice sage-like voice as he looked around the room, only seeing 3 members of Team 8. Tazuna said, Unfortunately yes. In fact, if it were not for these ninja here I would have died. The monk raised an eyebrow and said, Really? May I hear about it so I may properly thank them? Kurenai narrowed her eyes and said, I don't believe that's necessary. We were only doing our job. Tsunami said, Nonsense. You saved my father from those ninja Gato hired and shall be thanked since my father lied to begin with. Besides, you did save him from those 3 ninja Gato hired. The monk said, Oh my, 3 ninja. You must be very good to handle one-on-one fighting with only 3 of you. Kiba blushed with pride and said, Well, actually, there are 5 of us and we defeated the demon brothers on the way here. Akamaru here and me double-teamed one while Shino distracted them while Hinata finished him off. The other one was a Junin and the other 3 fought him while I protected Tazuna since he used a jutsu that made my fighting style useless, as he looked down at the last part. The monk asked, "Are they all dead? If so, I will pray that their souls pass on to the next world safely." Kurenai said, "No, all 3 live. When we were fighting the demon brothers before I could kill them, a fake hunter nin came and took them, and when we let our guard down and then Zabuza fled when we were ready to stop him, but with his injuries he could be back up anytime." The monk nods and said, "Is your other member injured? I mean, I don't see him or her." In a concerned voice. Hinata said, "No, he's just washing up. Covering for her teammate real job." The monk nods and he said, "Well, I wish to thank you all for allowing me to stop and visit with you, and I wish the blessings of Inari to watch over each and every one of you and protect you in your trials. I don't know if it's worth much, but when I came through town I heard something a couple of drunk swordsmen were saying that I think you might like to know." Kurenai asked, "What might that be?" The monk said, "Well, I heard them bragging about the unspeakable things they plan to do with Tsunami here as they get rid of Inari also. They were going over some plan about an insurance policy to capture Tazuna or something. I only heard a moment of it when some people asked for me to pray for them. Well, I must be going. The life of someone like me is never done." As he turned and walked to the door, he stopped and walked back over to Kurenai and said, "Pardon me, miss, but may I have your name?" Kurenai said, "My name is Yuahi Kurenai." The monk smiled and said, "Well, Miss Yuahi, I must say your beauty is quite a refreshing thing to see, and I was wondering if you could help me with a problem I have." Kurenai said, "I am not sure if I can do anything since I am already on a mission, but I can listen." The monk smiled and said, "Would you be the mother of my children?" As he groped her. In that moment, everyone in the room except the monk seemed to be grasping for breath as Kurenai released all the female rage-driven ki she could and went to punch the monk, who jumped back and said, "I take that as a no. May Inari bless you all and keep you safe." As he walked out the door, closing it behind him, and slowly walked away. Hinata watched with her bloodline, unable to believe that a monk would do that, and Shino with his bugs, until the monk was several miles away. Kurenai sighed and said, "I will kill him and castrate that pervert the next time I see him." Shino came downstairs and said, "Something was strange about him. My bugs could not tell anything about him even when they were touching him. It is most unsettling." Hinata nods and said, "I agree. I could not even tell how much chakra he had or if he was using a henge. Something about him was messing with my eyes, and whoever heard of a pervert for a monk?" Kiba sniffs and said, "The funny thing is I recognize his scent mostly, but I can't seem to think of who it would be." "What do you think, sensei?" Now the funny thing is, at that moment if you were to look at Kurenai from a certain angle, you would swear she was impersonating a certain snake summoning special Junin as she twirled a kunai on the tip of her finger, muttering about castration and blood. Deciding it was best to leave her alone, Tsunami started to make breakfast, hoping the woman would calm down and not hurt her father in her female rage. The rest of the day went by quietly as nothing happened besides taking Inari and Tsunami with them to the bridge. The next day when everyone left, Hinata asked, "Sensei, do you have any idea who that monk might have been? I felt weird when he was there, and not just because of the fact that my bloodline would not work right." Kurenai looked at Hinata and said, "I don't know. My mind is still trying to figure out how I missed him when I went to punch him for groping me. I mean, I can usually lay a hand on Jiraiya for such an act, but that monk dodged it like I was not even moving. We should be careful of him, I think." The rest of her team nod and they made it to the bridge 10 minutes later. As the day began normal when a thick mist covered the bridge and Hinata said, "Everyone get ready, they're back," as she had her eyes active and saw the chakra in the mist. A chuckle could be heard as 4 people stepped out of the mist, cutting the workers along with the ninja and Tazuna family off from retreating, and Zabuza said, well, this is quite a surprise. I mean to have you all tied up in a barrel waiting to be killed by us. I must say that I underestimated your teamwork last time, but since the numbers are even I don't have to worry. Haku, take the Hyuga. Boys, you can take the bug and the dog users. I think it's time I had some fun with the lady here." As he pulled the sword off his back. Everyone tensed, waiting to start the fight while all the civilians were scared and back away. No one made a noise, which is why when the sound of a bell echoed and got louder as it approached the bridge, everyone was able to see the arrival of the monk from the day before. Kurenai released Key Aegean and said, You have the balls to show up Aegean after what you did. I will kill you when I get the chance. Zabuza chuckled and said, You must really have done something to tick the Ice Queen of Konoha off like that, but may I ask why a holy man is here? Are you here to see the recently departed off? With a smile behind his mask. The monk stopped, lowering his head, and said, I am here to cleanse the sins of the guilty, if you must know, demon of the mist. As he tossed his staff into the air and it sailed over to where the four missing Nins were and landed an inch into the concrete, and at that moment the monk phased out of view and appeared in front of Mizu, delivering a fist to his chest, blowing him 5 feet back on the ground with several broken ribs before he turned, as everyone suddenly saw him deliver an uppercut to Guzu, knocking him into the air as the monk turned, delivering a standing side kick into Haku's chest, knocking her off the bridge and into the water below before he turned, grabbing the staff, channeling chakra into it, turning it into a huge Zanpakuto, and intercepted the slash coming from Zabuza before both jumped backwards away from each other. To say everyone was amazed would be an understatement. The monk said, Team 8. I only hurt them but have not killed any, and the one in the water has a bloodline to use ice. Try and not kill them and don't tire yourselves out. Gato is on his way here with around 300 mercenary to kill you all and Zabuza when you're tired and weak, so he don't have to pay. I will hold off Zabuza. Zabuza chuckled and said, I don't know who you are, monk, but that was a nice story you just told, but I don't believe you, and in fact I will kill you. The monk chuckled and said, I am no monk, Zabuza. I am a ninja of Konoha, and it was no story, so how about you and me fight and leave the rest alone, or are you too scared to face you equal in Kenjutsu, former member of the Seven Swordsmen? Kurenai was stunned and asked, Wait, who are you? The monk threw the hat on his head over to her and she screamed, Naruto. And he said, Got it in one, but talk later. Haku back and pissed. Now where were we? As he grabbed the sash on the end of his sword, think Ichigo hollow when he fights himself, and start to swing it around in a circle beside him, and yawned as Zabuza was wide-eyed and said, You know, if you're not going to fight. He then disappeared and took a swipe, only to be intercepted by Zabuza's sword, who flew back a few feet across the ground from the force of the attack. Naruto stood up Aegean and began swinging his sword Aegean and asked, You have pretty good instincts, Zabuza. Tell me, is it just instinct, or are you able to follow me? Zabuza gritted his teeth and thought, How the hell is he so fast? All I can see is a blur of motion, and I have to predict his next move or die. If not for the 10 feet that he is giving me while spinning his sword, I would long be dead. Who the hell is he? And asked, So what are you, Anbu, Junin, what? Naruto smiled an evil smile and said, Genin. As he disappeared, Aegean and Zabuza cried out in pain as his hand was broken by the now staff and he had to let go of his sword as he jumped back. Naruto snorts as he picked up Zabuza's sword and said, How about this, Zabuza? Since I already disarmed you and could end your life at any moment, how about we have a 1-hour break and I will return you sword and allow Haku time to heal your hand. At the end of that 1 hour, if Gato does not show, we can begin to fight Aegean. A few minutes earlier, when Haku made it back on the bridge, she was pissed. She quickly started making hand signs as she saw Zabuza and Naruto fighting and said, Maku Hyusho, demonic ice crystal mirrors, and formed a set of mirrors around Kurenai. Haku said, I am sorry, but I must end this quick or I won't be able to save Zabuza. As she pulled out Senbons and unleashed them on Kurenai, who was instantly replaced by Hinata, who began spinning with a kite, deflecting all the needles. Hinata said, Naruto-kun said to keep you alive, so I will keep you alive until then and not allow you to harm anyone. As she got ready to fight, Kurenai, who had just found herself saved by her student, looked back and saw Hinata doing fine for the moment, so she glanced at Naruto and sweat dropped as he was beating Zabuza at the moment and thought, What the hell have you done to yourself, Naru? Wait, then that means that he's the one who, he is so going to get it when this is over. As she turned to look at Shino and Kiba, who seemed to be kicking the demon brothers' butts since Naruto's first attack weakened them badly, making it where they can't dodge or move at high speed. She decides to look around, trying to figure out who needs help, when all of a sudden Zabuza shouts, That's enough. Everyone stop fighting. A ceasefire has been declared. As he held his hand as Naruto held his sword and looked smug. Naruto picked the sword up, slamming the tip into the concrete, and said, Wise decision. As he turned and walked over to where his hat was and he sat down on a rail. Hiba looked up and saw the demon brothers slowly backing up and looked over and saw the ice mirrors disappearing as all three of them moved backwards towards Zabuza, keeping an eye on everyone, and Kurenai asked, "Is everyone okay?" Shino said, "I am fine though, what is going on?" Hiba looked over at Naruto and asked, "I am fine, sensei." "What the hell are you doing here, Naruto, and what's going on?" Hinata looked at Naruto and blushed and said, "I am fine also, sensei, but I must ask, why are we not still fighting? I mean, Naruto said not to kill them even though they are missing Nin." Kurenai said, "That is something I want to know as well. Care to explain why you are here, Naruto? Why you are ordering my genins, and most importantly, what the hell gave you the idea to grab my you pervert?" Naruto looked bored as he glanced over at her behind his sunglasses and said, "I don't think you will want me to answer that last question in front of so many people, Kurenai sensei, but as for what I am doing here and why I am ordering your genins is because, like I said, Gato is going to double-cross Zabuza, and once that happens he won't be our enemy any longer and he could help take out the mercs. I already had a Kajbunshin kill 2 of his men who broke into Tazuna house this morning after you left to kidnap Tsunami like I warned you yesterday. Now we have an hour while Zabuza gets his hand healed and also give the others a chance to recover from my little attack as well as you all time to recover chakra. Loud enough for everyone to hear." Zabuza said, "Are you still sprouting off that bullshit about Gato being stupid enough to betray me? You Konoha nins are dumb shits. I have seen Gato's kind before and all they are is sniveling little cowards." Naruto smiles and asks, "Are you so sure about that, Zabi? How about a little bet?" Zabuza snorts and said, "And what would I have to gain from a little genin?" Still not believing that Naruto is a genin from the fact he is faster and stronger than himself. Naruto said, "If I am wrong I will give you my sword as my honor as a swordsman is on the line," shocking everyone there and scaring the Konoha nins because they did not know how good Naruto was without his sword. Zabuza looked intrigued and asked, "And if you're right, what do I lose?" Naruto put his hand to his chin and said, "You will join Konoha." Kurenai asked in a scared, shaky voice, "Naruto, are you sure that's a good idea?" Naruto lowered his sunglasses and said, "I don't go back on my word, that's my Nindo sensei and I won't lose. That I am sure of, and these 4 would be good for the future of Konoha." As he pulled his sunglasses back up. Zabuza seemed to think a moment and Haku asked, "What should we do, Zabuza-sama?" As she looked at the Konoha nins. Zabuza asked, "What clan are you from, boy? I don't know who you are." Naruto smiled and said, "I am Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, son of Kushina Uzumaki, the Kyudaime Rasenkage of Whirlpool and the Yondaime Hokage of Konoha, heir to the Namikaze clan as well as chosen heir of another clan not associated with Konoha." As he cut his eyes to teammate watching as they tried to figure out what the hell is going on. Zabuza said, "So you're the son of the Yondaime, yeah right." Naruto threw a kunai that hit the ground in front of Zabuza and appeared in a yellow flash with a Rasengan in both hands and said, "Don't underestimate me, Zabuza, and you will learn that I am given my nickname for a very good reason, Demon of the Mist." Hiba looked shocked and was gaping and Hinata asked, "Sensei, why does Naruto keep referring to Zabuza as Demon of the Mist?" Naruto, who picked up the kunai and put it back away, walked back to where he was and said, "Momochi Zabuza, once a member of the 7 Swordsmen of the Mist, became a missing nin after a failed assassination attempt on the Mizukage to end the bloodline war they have as well as change the history of the Bloody Mist. Do any of you know how you become a ninja of the Hidden Mist?" Shino said, "By going to an academy like we do, right? Trying to get pieces of the puzzle that is in front of them." Naruto snickers and Zabuza said, "I am impressed, you seem to know a lot about me, kid, let's see how much." Naruto said, "Partially right. The academy students would be put into pairs, living together, eating together, sharing rooms and making friendship, and when the exam came, forced to fight each other to the death. However, that all changed. 1 year occurred where nobody became a genin because a single child that wasn't even in the exam had slaughtered all 100 candidates. That child was Momochi Zabuza. Because of this he was accepted to become one of the 7 swordsmen." "Did I miss anything?" Zabuza said. "You're right. Good times. Good times. So tell me, why do you want me to join you?" Naruto said. "Kisame Hoshigaki, the monster of the mist." This brought Zabuza full attention and he asked, "What about him?" Narrowing his eyes. Naruto said, Let's just say that if you agree sometime in the next 2 years you will receive a chance to go at him once Aegean by being near me and loyal to Konoha. As I understand it, he was the one who rated your plans out and cost you most of your followers. So do we have a bet? Zabuza said. Yes, it's a bet. Naruto said. Good, just in time as my Kajbunshin I had replaced Gato 2 mercs earlier have just arrived. As he turned his head toward the bridge entrance when a large group of men could be seen heading toward it and Gato was leading the group. Gato narrowed his eyes and said, Zabuza, what is the meaning of this? I ordered you to kill the bridge builder. Zabuza looked at the men with Gato and thought, well hell, looks like I am going to Konoha. As he stood up and said, what are your orders, kid? Naruto looked at teammate who seemed to be weary and he said, I think that teammate and your team are still tired and hurting from earlier, so how about a contest? The one who fails to get to Gato first buys the first round of sake. As he turned his staff back into a sword. Zabuza pulled his out of the ground and said, don't fall behind. As he charged. Naruto charged as well and both began to weave in and out of the fighting and slashing, striking, dodging, and killing, guarding each other's backs as they made their way to Gato. The Konoha nins looked on as they watched Naruto and Zabuza fighting the mercs. It was over in less than 3 minutes as both Naruto and Zabuza sliced Gato in half as Zabuza took his head and Naruto split him from groin to neck and Naruto said, Tai. Zabuza said, Tai, so what now? Naruto said, well we either can finish these merc off or you can buy first round and I will buy last round, sound good? As he smiled unleashing a massive amount of ki making the mercs run off screaming. Zabuza chuckled and asked, how sure are you that we will be accepted in Konoha? I mean we are missing nins. Naruto said, let's just say I have a jutsu the Hokage fears and to escape me using it on him he will agree to this. Zabuza laughs and said, kid, I like you, extorting the leader of your village, you're a true shinobi. Well we will meet you on the way back to Konoha after the bridge is done so we have time to recover and prepare. Agreed. Naruto said. Agreed. Zabuza made a motion and all 4 mist nins left in swirl of mist. When they were gone Naruto changed his sword back to a staff and walked over smiling before he passed out falling on his face. Teammate as well as the people of Wave ran to him and Tazuna asked, is he okay? Kurenai began checking him and Hinata said, he's suffering chakra exhaustion sensei, what should we do? Kurenai said, let's get this mess cleaned up and take him back to the house to get some rest. After that I have questions he is going to answer. As she looked concerned. Kiba asked, Sensei, how did Naruto get so fast and strong to fight several missing nins like that? I never seen Naruto like this before. Kurenai said, I don't know Kiba. I don't know. A few hours later after everyone cleaned up the liberation of Wave as it was being called and teammate along with Tazuna and his family were back at Tazuna house Naruto found himself locked in a room with Kurenai who had tied him to a chair before he awoke Aegean and put a privacy just you on the room so they could talk and she said, now I want answers as to what the hell is going on. Naruto smiled and before she knew what was happening she found herself slammed against the wall with her lips feeling bruised as Naruto held both her legs to the side of his hips holding he in the air and he finally broke the kiss that was bruising her lips and whispered, so my little vixen, tell me, why did you make the decision to come back? Kurenai's eyes got wide and she asked, how? In a scared voice. Naruto said, only if you promise not to tell the others yet. I want to surprise them. She only could nod as he carried her over and set her on the bed and said, I know who each of you are now. I recently mastered my bloodline and met Inari. Inari gave me my future memories so I know who was there when I fought my uncle but that's not how I knew of you for sure. I knew for sure because you are releasing the same smell Ino and Sakura did after I passed their test meaning I passed yours which you did not have the day of the team assignments. I also figured out that it was you on top of the Hokage mountain that day, wasn't it? She nods as he was nibbling on her ear. She gasped as he nibbled on her jawbone and asked, what do you plan to do Naruto-kun? Trying to control herself as she was getting aroused. Naruto smiled and said, for now, nothing but being here with you. Then I plan to return to Konoha and prepare for the exams. As he lead her over to the bed and laid her softly on the mattress. Kurenai was losing herself as the feelings she was having suddenly became even more powerful when Naruto bit her on the neck. She mewed from this a moment and she felt her cloths being removed. All she could really tell at the moment was everything was in a haze as her mind was trying to register what she was feeling and seeing. Her haze cleared as Naruto found her little bit of flesh and began teasing it with different speeds and strengths as well as nibbles and licks. Her eyes slammed close as her back arched as the waves of pleasure rocked over her. She suddenly felt pain a moment and noticed she was no longer on the bed. In fact, she was no longer on anything but hanging in the air. She turned her head and found her arm had been tied behind her back and her legs like her arms had a cable that was covered in strips sheets keeping her from being bruised being held by wires tied to kuniyas in the ceiling. She asked, "What are you doing, Naruto-kun?" Naruto smiled and put his hands in a seal and a moment later there was 3 other Naruto in the room and one got in front of her face completely as she felt 2 others began nibbling on her erect. One bit just a little hard making her open her mouth in gasp and she had the last clone shove himself in her mouth only to the tip though giving her a chance to realize what was going on. Naruto himself began rubbing her with his fingers as he began licking her folds of all the fluid coming out of her. Naruto did this for 15 minutes except every time she was almost to the point of coming he would stop everything forcing her to whine and whimper. Naruto saw the pleading look in her eyes and cut her free as he dismissed his clones after helping her up. He then walked over to the bed and laid down on his back and said, "I don't know if you are or not but I won't enter you because I don't want to hurt you. You will control that part Kur-chan." Kurenai was both flushed and embarrassed by what Naruto said and she slowly climbed on the bed and she slowly started to lower herself on him. Naruto winced at her tightness but waited and then he felt it and knew he made the right decision as she stiffened and looked into his eyes pleading. Naruto nods withdrawing his hips and then thrust forward getting a gasp from her. She sat there a few moments never moving as she adjusted and then she felt something she could not understand. She looked at Naruto and saw him smiling and knew he was the one doing whatever was happening. Naruto held her so she could not move or buck and said, surprised. Kurenai's eyes fluttered and asked, "What?" as she was panting by this time. Naruto said, "I am controlling the flow of blood and chakra to that area on my body and having them send rippled through it giving you pleasure." Kurenai sat there completely at Naruto mercy and Naruto soon began to buck when he felt her first orgasm overtaking her and then he felt her second, third and fourth as he got faster and faster. If it had not been for the privacy jutsu she put up everyone in 5 miles would have heard Kurenai's shouts of pleasure. Naruto soon tensed holding out until he felt Kurenai final one and he orgasmed with her. Both were panting as she fell on top of him and he kissed her. She passed out shortly after that and Naruto closed his eyes and fell asleep also. A few hours later they both woke up and Kurenai had to take her time walking with the limp she now had. Naruto got dressed and headed downstairs walking beside her and Kiba blinked and asked, "Sensei, why do you smell like Naruto?" Naruto walked over to a picture on the wall and pushed it to the side grabbing an item in a hole that was hidden and threw it to Kiba and said, "Page 51. Tsunami got red and asked, "How did you know that was there?" Naruto smiled and said, "Secret." Kiba blinked and looked and read, "Ika Ika Paradise, Sensual Doctor." And he flipped to page 51 and blew back from a nosebleed. Kurenai was beet red and grabbed the book reading page 51 and said, "That's not right, I mean we never did it like," as she realized what she was saying and went even more red. Hinata said, "Sensei, what did you do?" Shino said as he looked at Naruto, "My respect for you is both increased and destroyed. How can you cheat on Sakura?" Naruto said, "I am not." Kurenai was red and said, "Naruto is the last of his clan and bloodline so." Shino said, "I see, my objection is withdrew but if you hurt Sensei I will have my bugs devour you," as he walked outside. Naruto looked at Hinata who was red and said, "Anything you want to say Hinata?" Hinata said, "No," as she blushed and looked away. Naruto sighed and thought, "I thought she might have been one also but I can't tell because she may just have a little more confident for some reason." Sigh. As he picked Kiba up and took him to his room. After he was gone Hinata looked at Kurenai and Tsunami asked, "How was he?" Kurenai looked down and said, "He's a kunai, long hard and thick." As she looked away from the starry-eyed look both woman besides her was having at the moment. That night Naruto found himself standing on the temple he built and he said, "What the hell, how did I get back here?" Suddenly 9 figures appeared all wearing cloaks and he recognized a few voices and he saw Sakura pull her cloak back and ask, "Where the hell am I?" Naruto said, "Well, this is the temple of Inari but how we all got here I don't know Sakura-chan." Sakura turned and gasped as she saw Naruto as did the others though some had mask on and the only ones who did not were Ruby, Sakura, Ino, and Kurenai. Ino asked, "Is that you Naruto?" Naruto said, "Yeah." A booming voice said, "Will you all please shut up so I can get this meeting in order?" Ino said, "Who the hell are you to order us?" Naruto paled and said, "Ino, shut up. That is Inari, god of fertility, foxes, and other stuff." As he turned to look at the pure white fox. The fox said, "It's good to see you Agi and Naruto." Now as Naruto said, "I am Inari. I am the one who enabled Ruby to turn you all to kitsunes to begin with and as such you are all like children to me. My chosen if you will." As Naruto said this is the temple of Inari except this one exists in the spirit world. I have called what is known as a pack meeting to give you all some information. Any of you can call one but it has to be something that will affect the entire pack. Do not use this as a simple way to send messages or I will punish you. Now to use it just think the words unite the den, unite the kitsune, unite the pack and it will automatically pull every kitsune in the world here. Now before any of you who have yet to have Naruto know who you are get worried you have a mask on your face keeping him from seeing who you really are and your voice is distorted by it so he can't recognize it. Now if you will all look behind you each of you will see a number of tails. Naruto is now my avatar and no here I won't explain what that means because you don't need to know but he is now a 10-tail fox. Ruby used to be a 9-tail fox but she is now a 6-tail since the actually demon Kyuubi is no longer a part of her making her just a normal kitsune like the rest of you females. Now if you notice everyone except Ruby has green tails behind them. A green tail means you can use that tail to make a new kitsune by either birth or by making another female one. A yellow tail means you are either pregnant or are able to become pregnant. Kurenai here has one that is partially green and partially yellow meaning she has had with Naruto within the last 3 days and she could become pregnant. If she decides not to then the tail will go back green at the end of the 3rd day. Now if she gets pregnant and then has the child the tail will go red. A red tail means you have used it already. The reason for this is I made it where the pack will always be strong enough to protect itself. Each of you women can only have a total of 6 either children or make a new one. Sakura looked around and said, Inari-sama, I am sorry to interrupt but Ruby has 6 red tails, what does that mean for her? As she saw the sad look on Ruby's face. Inari said, I was just getting to that Sakura. You see she cannot have children or make any more kitsunes. She used all of her chances to make you all kitsunes. Naruto asked, is there a way for her to get them back? It's not right she can't have children after giving us all another chance. Inari said, yes, there is a way. You all keep interrupting me so I can't finish what I was going to say. Now the reason you each have different number of tails in this world represents how many elements you can control in the other world. You all get 1 tail by default. As you get stronger you get more tails but as I was saying Kyuubi used actually 9 tails so in order for her to be able to have at least 1 child either one person or a group of you will have to give up at least 4 tails to make her have 5 used ones. She can't ask you. It has to be given freely and once you pass one of yours over you can't earn it back yourself. You can receive one from another who will sacrifice one of tier but the most any of you can make is 6. Like I said, I made this system so that you the pack is strong enough to protect itself. Sakura said, I think we should all give 1 tail to her so she has the same level as us. Naruto said, no, you all are equal in my eyes so I will not have someone sacrifice something like the ability to have a child in the future. I see the loophole in your system and like Ruby said, always find and use the loopholes. I can't have children because I am a male so my tails are just a status symbol so I give 9 of my 10 tails to Ruby to make her even with the rest and no one say otherwise because I will not have you all hate yourself for giving something like that up or hate the others. From what I see we are supposed to be a family or as you call it a pack and I will not have us hating and fighting amongst ourselves. If there is I will end it all myself. Inari looked around and smirked to himself and said, are you sure that is what you want to do Naruto? I mean, Naruto said, it's non-negotiable. Inari said, very well, Ruby is now equal Aegean as the rest of you, and Naruto has spent 9 of his 10 tails. As such, he will only have one son. Making everyone wide-eyed, and Sakura said, "Wait, what do you mean?" Inari said, "Well, it's very simple. Women can only make woman kitsunes and men can only make males kitsunes, so since Naruto gave his 9 to make Ruby equal to you all, then he can only have one son since that is all the tails he has left." CYA. As he faded away, but not before thinking, and so another male falls to my clever trap. In all the years I have done this, none have ever figured out the truth until it's too late. Ha ha ha, I am evil. Ruby started to cry and said, "Oh Kit, I am so." Naruto said, "Don't worry about it, Ruby. I never expected to have a son anyways because of what I have heard and read about kitsunes, and if I can have one then that's fine, and if not that's fine also. No one is to feel guilty or make the others feel guilty because it was my choice and I would make it over Aegean and Aegean." Ruby starts crying harder and Sakura said, "He's right. We are all new at this and she is no different than the rest of us." Naruto made his decision, and as pack leader he has final say on this stuff, so I say let's all agree with him. Agreed. Each of them nods slowly and Naruto said, "And I have a surprise for a few of you. I may know who you are, and just wait. Your little games are fun but payback's a bitch and I am the king of pranks. Your asses are mine," Kurenai said, along with a few other things, making everyone blush. Before anyone had a chance to say anything else, they all found themselves back where they were before they came here. The next day Naruto got up out of bed in the room he was sharing with Kiba and Shino now, and he saw Kurenai sitting there talking with Tsunami, and Naruto walked over and said, "Good morning. How is everyone today?" Kurenai was red and said, "Sore, you." Naruto said, "Still tired. My chakra has not recovered yet." Kurenai asked, "That reminds me, why did you run out of chakra from that short fight yesterday?" Tsunami said, Excuse me Kurenai, but did you not tell your students that anyone can run out of chakra fast if they are not careful?" Kurenai said, "Normally yes, but Naruto is different." Naruto looked at Tsunami and said, "I have more chakra than at least 10 Zabuzas normally because of a condition I have. However, what nobody knew is that I had already had 5 cage level fights in less than a week, and then that one yesterday plus my use of Kajbunshians put me at a dangerous level. That is why I ran out of chakra." Tsunami stuttered, "You have that much chakra? That's amazing." Naruto said, "Yes, and you know it's not nice to listen in Shino and Kiba, but I don't mind explaining, so wake Hinata up and I will answer everything." Without looking back as a bark was heard at the top of the stairs. Kurenai said, "You're going to tell them about that?" Naruto said, "Some I will reveal. Enough not to expose clan secrets." Kurenai nods and Tsunami said, "You ninja are a strange lot. I mean, one moment you're fighting each other trying to kill each other and then you're best friends." Naruto smiled and said, "It's great to be me," making Kurenai chuckle and then snort as she got red trying to look away embarrassed. Naruto chuckled and then feet could be heard coming downstairs and Kiba walked in with Hinata following, and then Shino last, and they all sat down and Naruto asked, "Okay, so where do you guys want to start?" Kiba asked, "How did you get so fast and how did you know we were listening in? I mean, when we were in the academy you and me were almost equal, but now it's like I could not even see you." Naruto said, "Well Kiba, you're not the only one with heightened senses. I think the first thing I should say is we were not really as close as you thought. I have a seal on me called a gravity seal. It's one that my father created and I wore it since I was 7 years old, so when I take those weights off I am actually a lot faster. It's like a trump card that people hide until the last moment. Almost everyone wears weight in one fashion or another, but most clans in Konoha wait until their children become genin before telling them that, so they don't become arrogant like Sasuke, and also everyone who has ever faced a chunin or higher wears them, but they don't tell how much, so nobody can actually guess that, or usually tells others they have them, so people are always guessing. That was part of the reason you could not keep up with my speed." Shino asked, "What was the other part?" Naruto took a sip of coffee Tsunami poured for everyone and said, "My bloodline. The Rinnegan." Shino asked, "What exactly does it do? I mean, I have heard of it, but nobody actually knows what it does." Naruto looked around and said, "I will tell you, but you are not allowed to tell anyone else, including your own clans. I am giving you one of my clan secrets and it could be very dangerous." Understood. Only reason I am is because I know all of you will honor your words and I trust you. Each of them nods and Naruto said, I won't tell you much about it, but what I will tell you is it has the ability to become a multiplier. If used correctly, it takes your nin, gen, tai, ken, and blood jutsu to a whole new level. Say I take a picture of water showing my sleeping, unlearned natural skills and have 5 glasses that are half full showing my normal skills. If I use my bloodline right and master it like I have, then I will fill each of the glasses up to the max and can overflow any area for a while with what is left by waking those skills up as well. Everyone was wide-eyed and Kiba said, so you're saying that it makes you a whole lot stronger, faster, and powerful, huh? Naruto sighs and said, mostly. Shino asked, what about those bunshin you made when you were killed and they brought you back to life back in Konoha? I asked my father about it and he never heard of such a thing. Naruto said, here is where it gets tricky and why most never master the bloodline. Those 5 bunshins are not actually bunshins. They are masters in each of the different forms of jutsu. How they come to be I won't tell you because it could be used against my children if any ever awaken it also. You see, what it is supposed to happen is have those 5 train you in your mind while you meditate and sleep, and then you use what you learn in the real world while controlling those bodies, and once you have learned all that they all can and use it correctly in the field they were chosen for, then that is where the second stage comes in. I won't tell you what happens in the second stage, but it makes the first stage look like child's play. The second stage is the most dangerous part though. To reach it you have to fight those bodies to the death. If they win you die. If you win then you get the second level and any special abilities those 5 have and a little bit of their personalities. Kurenai asked, what kind of special abilities do they have and how much of their personality? Naruto said, well, I will use myself here to explain it. Remember when I groped you? Kurenai blushed and narrowed her eyes and Naruto said, that was part of the personality of the monk Moroku who was my blood summoning person I had. I also got the ability to do a version of summoning I won't go into, and I got that staff and prayer beads as gifts. Hinata asked, what about the sword Naruto-kun? I mean you use it like nothing, yet I never seen any sword user use one like you did. Naruto smiled and said, the sword is special, but in order to tell you why it's special I guess I will have to tell you about the truth of the Kyuubi. As he looked down. Everyone looked at each other and Shino asked, are you referring to it, Naruto? Naruto blinked and asked, you know. Looking at Shino. Shino said, yes, my clan hive told me and we know the difference. Kiba asked, what are you referring to, Shino? I don't know what you're both talking about. Naruto sighed and said, what I am about to tell you is an S-rank village secret that only myself or the Hokage is allowed to speak about. If you repeat it to anyone it will mean your death. It starts about 2 weeks before the Kyuubi attack. The temple of Inari that is located here in Wave Country was attacked. Who attacked it is classified for only me and the Hokage to know since I am directly affected by it. Anyways, the people who attacked it killed everyone but the guardian of the temple, Kyuubi. They had a way to make the Kyuubi unable to fight and sit by watching as the temple was attacked and the worshippers killed. Anyways, when they left, Kyuubi believed they were from Konoha because it saw a headband and something else that I won't tell because it's been classified by the Hokage from Konoha, and it attacked for revenge and another motive. My father, as you know, faced the Kyuubi, but what you don't know is he could not kill it. If he had more time he could have found a way to, but with so many people dying he chose a way to stop it. He sealed it with the help of a special seal and by summoning a Shinigami who took the Kyuubi power and soul and sealed them into a newborn child who was born about 2 hours before the Kyuubi defeat. Kiba was wide-eyed and said, wait, if that's true how come we were all told he killed it and who was the baby? Kurenai said, the Sandaime at first believed like the Yondaime that the people of Konoha would see the child as the hero he was for keeping the Kyuubi locked up and away from ever harming anyone, but over 90% of the village chose to see him as the demon itself. That is why the law was created Naruto spoke of. Naruto said, the only real exceptions who saw the truth have been the major clans with the exception of the Uchihas. The third passed the law after the people demanded the child be put to death when he was but a day old, and he said if anyone were to tell anyone who did not know they would be executed so the boy could grow up and have a somewhat normal life. Sadly, even that did not stop the hate. The boy had over 2,000 attempts on his life before the age of 8 by the people of the village. He was refused food, clothing, living as an orphan, never knowing who his parents were, believing he had been abandoned, never even knowing why he was hated, and for a while lived on the street after the orphanage kicked him out until the Hokage bought an apartment for him to live in. Anytime he tried to make friends, the parents of the children would have their children beat him or act like he was not even there, thinking if the boy hated himself enough that he would kill himself. Tsunami asked, "Did the boy kill himself?" Engrossed in the story, Naruto sighed and raised his shirt sleeve, making Kurenai and everyone gasp, and said, "No, but I sure tried to," showing everyone slashes that were on his wrist. Kiba was stunned and said, "So your dad sealed the Kyuubi and you and the villagers hated you for saving them?" Naruto said, "Where it stayed until it died," making everyone blink. Shino asked, "What do you mean it died?" Naruto sighed, noticing the glance Kurenai gave him, and said, "That was one of the reasons I left Konoha after that attack by Root and Mizuki. When Mizuki poisoned me, the Kyuubi chakra usually healed all wounds unless I made them myself and neutralized poisons, but that poison was made specifically to stop the Kyuubi and me. I died that day. For about 30 seconds I was dead until Sakura and Ino were able to bring me back to life. When I died, the Kyuubi died as well." Kiba said, "Then you should be happy. Now everyone won't hate you." "Right." Still not believing the people were like that, Naruto sighed and said, "If only it was that easy. Kurenai, would you do me a favor? Imagine yourself as an ordinary one-tailed woodland fox." Kurenai blinked and asked, "Why?" Naruto smiled and said, "Humor me please." Kurenai closed her eyes and pictured herself as a fox, and several gasps were heard, and she opened her eyes and asked, "What?" as she looked around. Naruto said, "Look at your hands." Kurenai looked at her hands and screamed, "What?" Naruto grabbed her by her fur, as she was now a fox, and started to stroke her fur, and she stopped freaking out and started to purr, and Naruto said, "That's one of the side effects of the Kyuubi death and why I was here in Wave to begin with. It turns out that because of the sealing done by my father and the Shinigami that I became part Kitsune." Kiba looked at his sensei in Naruto's lap and asked, "Okay, wait a minute, if you're part Kitsune then why did sensei turn into a fox?" Naruto sighed and said, "Tell me Kiba, when an animal mates, how does it show that its mate is taken?" Kiba said, "Well, they mark them." "Why?" Naruto said, "Well, I did not realize it, but when me and Sakura were together I bit her on the neck. I don't know why I did it, but I did. When I was at the temple of Inari I learned that I did that to mark her, and by doing so made her part Kitsune as well." "Same for Kurenai here." Shino asked, "Does this affect anyone you sleep with or just those you chose as mates?" Naruto said, "Actually the only ones I can chose as mates are those who chose me first, and I accept. Since the day we graduated I found out there are a total of 9 women who want to be with me for different reasons. Some not even from Konoha. Don't ask me why, because I am as confused as the rest of men why women love who they do. I do know that Kurenai here was one of those 9 as well as Sakura and Ino. I have a few guesses as to who the other 6 are, but I have to pass a test for each one before I find out. They want me to prove that I am worth their time also." As he glances at Hinata, but she looks confused. Kiba asked, "Sensei, is that true?" Kurenai sighed, annoyed because she was loving being petted still in her fox form, said, "Yes Kiba, it's true. Me and the other saw Naruto for who he is and not what he contains, so when we found out about each other we decided to help him out as much as possible, and over time it went from being just a guardian to friends till we each fell for him, as well as agreeing when the time comes to make his life happy. We each have our own reason and our own test for him. Do you have a problem with it?" As she looked at him, Kiba said, "No sensei, it's just a lot to take in right now. Can I ask why you chose him though? I mean, from what I seen you could have any guy you want." Naruto looked down at her and said, "Yes, I still want to hear why you agreed and what test it was I passed." Kurenai mewed a moment in a fox voice which was cute and said, "Fine, I will tell you, and it's the actual truth. When Naruto was around 6 years old I was 12 and had just graduated the academy. A kid from my class used his new hiate to buy some alcohol for a party for everyone who passed, and I went to it, but what I did not know was that the beer I got had been laced with a date rape drug. I started to feel sick and left the party and made it to an alley and threw up before passing out in the alley. The guy who threw the party targeted me and decided he wanted to have his way with me, and since I was passed out he had gotten my pants and panties off and was about to have me when Naruto, who just happened to be passing by, saw this and kicked the guy in the nuts. The guy screamed and held himself as Naruto tried dragging me out of the alley. He made it out, but people saw me passed out and in my shape and thought Naruto had killed me or worse, so they attacked him. The Hokage came and rescued Naruto after he was nearly dead and saw me, and when he asked Naruto what happened, he told the Hokage how he saw the other boy and me, and the Hokage had the boy locked up where he remains to this day. I did not learn until I made Chunin, who had saved me that day, and after that I started keeping an eye on him as thanks and slowly fell for him. Everyone was stunned and Naruto had his eyes closed thinking and said, I hate to tell you this, Kurenai, but that guy you were talking about is not still in jail. Everyone blinked and she asked, what do you mean, Naruto? Naruto sighed and said, the guy's is a bank manager right now in the town of Teppula. The council said that since the only witness to the crime was the demon brat, and since you had not actually been violated, that there was no proof of rape, so they set him free. The Hokage refused to have him as a ninja of the village because he knew it was true and told him if he did not leave the village within a week that he would make him have an accident. Shino asked, how do you know that, Naruto? Naruto sighed and said, the elder Homura came to my hospital room when I was attacked right before the Uchiha massacre because they said that a prodigy like Itachi would not kill his clan unless he was under the demon's brat's powers. Ironic if you know the truth, but anyways, she came and told me that a filthy little beast like me should be thankful the Hokage is around, and if he was ever gone she would see to it that I would be killed for ruining her nephew's ninja career. She then bragged how she got him a job as a vice president at the bank in Teppula, and last year I heard her talking to the secretary when I went to see the old man about something, and she bragged about him being promoted. Kurenai growled, that stupid bitch. I will kill her. Naruto looked down and said, sorry for telling you the truth. I am sure the old man told you he was locked up to put your mind at ease. Kurenai nods and Kiba said, well man, I don't care if you're a fox or had a fox. To me you're still one of my friends, but can you leave some of the chicks for the rest of us? Which brought laughs from everyone. Tsunami asked, what was the test Naruto had to do for you, if you don't mind me asking? Kurenai said, oh that, well, when he was still in the academy I asked him a question in passing. A question that if you find the correct answer will make you stronger than anyone. Kiba asked, what's the question? See if I can answer it. Intrigued about getting stronger. Naruto smiled and said, she asked me why do I want to get strong. Kiba said, that's easy, to be the best. Naruto chuckled and said, no Kiba. That question is a part of the cornerstone of Konoha beliefs. It goes back toward the will of fire speech the Hokage gave us in the academy. The real answer to why you want to get strong is to protect that which is precious to you. Only then will you find true strength. Kiba blinked and asked, what do you mean? I don't understand. Naruto said, alright, answer me this. If Akamaru and you were in a battle and you were almost out of energy and did not think you could move, but you saw Akamaru was about to die, would you just sit there worrying about yourself, or would you find a way to get up and move to save him? Kiba said, I would save him, of course. Kurenai said, but a moment ago you said you only would get strong to be the best. So which is it? Kiba thought a moment and said, I see, I understand now. Naruto said, that's a lesson I think my father understood also. I mean to stop something that was said to be unstoppable to save the village seems to follow my answer, huh? Everyone nods and Tsunami asked, Naruto, you said the Kyuubi is dead. What are you going to do now? I mean, why won't you tell everyone so that way they won't be mad? Naruto saw everyone looking at him and said, well, at first I wanted to, but since I have accepted that as part of my life I want Ben to please those who are too stupid to understand the truth, and now that I really am a kitsune it makes things more complicated. There is also the fact that we found out the guys who attacked the temple of Inari will be coming for the Kyuubi along with the other tailed demons in the near future. When I return I am going to have a meeting with the Hokage and the council, if it's still just the clan heads, about what I have discovered at the temple while I was away, and see if they agree with my idea. That is the plan right now, so I am keeping that a secret and act like I still have it. There is more I would like to tell you, but I don't know what the Hokage will classify. Now remember the sword you asked about. Well, the reason it is special is because my Kenjutsu master was named Ichigo, and he was a Shinigami. Everyone gasped and Shino said, "You had the death god as your Kenjutsu master." Naruto smiled and said, "Not just any death god I found out. It turns out he was the one who sealed Kyuubi into me. My sword style I now use is his style." Kurenai said, "Wait, you keep talking like there is more than one Shinigami." Naruto sighed and said, "From what I was told and learned, there is a whole village full in the afterlife." Hinata said, Naruto-kun. I was wondering, when you were fighting the root in the village you had 3 other bodies, you told us about the monk and the Shinigami, but who was the other one? And you said your bloodline improves all 5, so are there more teachers or something?" Naruto closed his eyes and thought a moment and said, "The other body I used was named Greed. He was my Taijutsu master. All I can tell you is he was a creature created by humans. I can't tell you anything else about him, because it might prove to be a weakness for me if the wrong people found out. I trust you all, but someone could target you to get to me since you're friends. As for the other 2, I did meet them and learn from them, but I won't tell who they were. I have to keep some things secret." Making everyone wide-eyed and nod. Hinata said, How did you get them, Naruto-kun? I mean, how did you get them to teach you?" Naruto said, "All I really know is something triggers my bloodline to activate, and when it does I only had a small scroll and book to tell me about it, and all I know is that the one thing each of those bodies had was at one time they were dead, and now that I am on the 2nd level Aegean they are back dead Aegean, as I don't have them any longer since I don't need them. I did get a few answers from those bodies but not much." Smiling, Shino said, "Is that why you said you had 5 cage level fights before the one yesterday? You fought them?" Naruto nods and said, "Yeah, I had to fight Ichigo, Greed, Makoto, and 2 others who were my ninjutsu and genjutsu, but I won't say who because the truth is they have not been dead for more than 15 years now and you might know them, so I don't want to tell more on that." Kiba sighed and said, "Man, you have an awesome bloodline. I wish I had it. I mean, getting your own private teachers and power-ups sounds cool." Naruto looked down and said, "I hope no one else has it, Kiba." "I really do." Making everyone look at him, Tsunami asked, "Why? What makes you so sad about your bloodline that you don't want anyone else to have it?" Naruto said, "I don't know much about my bloodline, but from what I do, almost everyone who actually awakens it either falls into one of 2 categories. Worldwide heroes like the 6 Realm Sage or crazy mass murderers. It puts a lot of stress on the person's mind, and if they are not strong enough mentally or get the wrong teachers they could become the next Itachi. I am afraid of it and its potential for disaster. That's why I hope none of my children actually awaken it." Silence. That's all that was heard. Shino asked, "Why is it that way? What causes it to form that way?" Naruto sighed and said, "There is so much about it I don't know, because from what I read not a lot of people actually get it, so I was lucky or unlucky to get it depending on how you look at it. Anyways, is that all the questions?" Everyone nods slowly, but then Kurenai growls and Naruto said, "Shush. I know." And Hinata asked in a stuttery voice, "What did you find at the temple?" Naruto sighed and said, "I found a lot of answers on how Kyuubi first came to be and also the temple itself. In fact, I rebuilt the temple to get some of the answers and got a couple of clues to help me when I face the men who attacked it. I can't say anything else though. Sorry." Kiba sighed and said, "So what are you going to do now? I mean, are you returning to the temple or what?" Naruto said, "I am going to stick around, help you guys finish faster, then head back with you all if you don't mind. I still have a little time before I have to be back anyways, and I have much to discuss with the Hokage." Kurenai said, "Sounds like you got everything planned out, huh?" Naruto said, "No, I am not so prideful as a lot of bloodline users to believe that I can do everything myself or I am better than others, so I like to help out when possible and also get help." Shino said, "That is why you want Zabuza?" Naruto said, "Yes. From what I have gathered in my time away from Konoha, one of the people who will be coming after me is either a member of the group who attacked the temple or at least works for them as Kisame, a former member of the 7 swordsmen like Zabuza, and they have a past together which makes them enemies." Kiba asked, "Who else is with them?" Naruto said, "Well, I know Orochimaru was with them, but he left for his own reasons, which is why I need to see the Hokage. Uchiha Itachi is with them also, but like I said, he may not be an actual member, but he does associate with them." Shino raises an eyebrow and Kiba said, "Man, you're being set up to be killed, or the hell did the Hokage decide by setting you against them? Did you piss on his face or something to set the deck against you like that? Tsunami asked. Excuse me, but why are you upset? Kurenai sighed and said, Uchiha Itachi is one of the remaining Uchiha in the world. He slaughtered his entire family in one night, all 250 of them, and most of them were Chunin or higher, leaving his only brother to witness it. He is very dangerous, as is Kisame and Orochimaru. Naruto may be good from what I saw, but he is not ready to face all of them right now. Naruto said. I know. I have a reasonable idea how strong I am right now, and I am probably, if I go all out, low Junin unless I use a few of my special abilities I got with my bloodline, which would put me on level with Orochimaru if he goes full out, and Itachi if he underestimates me, but that's only if I get to decide the fight area. I plan to get more help. I think the Hokage knew that also, and that's why he had Sakura go with Tsunade of the Sanins. Hiba said. And Sasuke with Kakashi Sensei. To make you three super powerful, huh? Naruto sighed and said, Sasuke is a threat. I mean, his hatred for his brothers is so deep now, a lot of people who will actually notice what he is and not his name think if someone were to offer him a chance to get stronger, he would betray Konoha in a heartbeat. That's on top of what his brother already told him to do to get stronger. Hinata asked, What's that? Naruto closed his eyes and said, Most people believe there are only 3 levels to the Sharingan, the I bloodline the Uchiha family has. The truth is there are 5 levels. The first 3 are activated by fear and determination. The 4th level is activated by guilt. Hiba asked, Guilt? What kind of guilt? Naruto looked him in the eyes and said, Guilt from killing your best friend or lover. Making everyone wide-eye. Shino asked, Are you sure of this? Naruto said, In the Uchiha temple in Their compound there is a false floor under one of the tiles. It goes to a room created by the founder of the Uchiha clan in Konoha, Uchiha Madara. In it he wrote with his own blood that was how to advance to the 4th level. However, the 4th level also comes at another cost. Hinata asked, What is it? Naruto said, Using it makes the eyes go blind. Uchiha Itachi is slowly going blind over time from using it. That is why he actually left Sasuke alive. Not to test his power or whatever bullshit he spouts off about, but when the time comes and Sasuke gets the 4th level also, Itachi will go for the 5th level. He will take Sasuke eyes while he is still alive and replace his blind or nearly blind ones. When that happens, he never has to fear going blind again. That is the directions matter left behind to receive the 5th level. Tsunami asked, How do you know about all this, Naruto? Naruto said, I have 2 sources actually. One I won't tell because it's classified, and the other is I have met Itachi since the massacre. He told me where to look because he sees me as nothing but the Kyuubi, and when he gets the 5th level he said he wants to test himself against me and see what is stronger, the Sharingan or the King of the Demons. Everyone slowly took the information in they had received, and Hinata said, My head hurts. This is a lot to take in at one time. Naruto said, I know, and most of it will be most likely classified by the Hokage, meaning you won't be able to ever mention it again. Also, if I catch you peeking on any of the women here, Ero Sanin, I will castrate you. Everyone looked around and asked, What are you talking about, Naruto? There's no one here. Naruto took a fork off the table and threw it at the wall behind him without looking, and it stopped about 3 feet from the wall in midair, and a shimmer was seen, and then Jiraiya was seen standing there. Jiraiya said, I am impressed, kid. How did you know I was there? Naruto said, You giggled when you were writing. It only took you 4 months to find me? Jiraiya said, 5, you've been gone longer than you think. So what else have you gotten on the group who attacked the temple? Should I go there and see if I can find something you missed? Naruto said, You can't. Anyone from Konoha not escorted by me won't be able to make it past the security. The priest and priestess that now run it has a copy of every bingo book in the world and have memorized nearly all of them. They don't trust ninja, and only reason I was allowed was because of my connection to Inari through Kyuubi. They would know you since you're in all of them. Jiraiya sighed and said, Yeah, monks can be a little strict, so like I said, any info. Naruto said, Only if you let me sign it. Jiraiya's sweat drops and Kiba asked, What are you talking about, Naruto, and who is this guy? Naruto slams his head on the table groaning, and Jiraiya said, Who am I? And he began his dance and said, I am the man loved in the north, south, east, and west. The man who all women want to be with and all men want to be. I am the toad Sanin Jiraiya. When he finishes, everyone's sweat drops, and Shino asked, "What is it you are wanting to sign, Naruto?" Naruto said, "Ero Sanin, you're a hopeless super pervert. Anyways, let me sign it." Jiraiya said, "Why should I? I mean, I can't just let anyone sign it." Naruto sighs and threw a kunai at Jiraiya feet faster than anyone but Jiraiya to see, and then used Hiraishin while holding a Rasengan in his hand and said, "Good enough reasons." Jiraiya was pale and said, "You can use both, how?" Naruto said, "Let me sign and I will tell you. Deal. Besides, what kind of godfather doesn't give his godchild a present?" Jiraiya went wide-eyed a moment and nods before he quickly bites his thumb and goes through the hand signs and said, "Kuchio's no jutsu." And a toad appeared with a contract in its mouth, and he unrolled his tongue and sat it down on the ground. Naruto walked over, sliding it open, and bit his right thumb and began writing his name before putting his bloody hand on it and rolled it up before handing it to the toad, who disappears in a puff of smoke. And Naruto said, "My ninjutsu master was my father," as he walked out the door, leaving everyone speechless before they ran outside. Jiraiya said, "Wait, what do you mean your ninjutsu master was your father?" Naruto walked around 150 yards away from the house and said, "Oi drunk, you're about to get a new front yard," as he bit his thumb and started going through hand signs and started to slam his hand on the ground. Kiba asked, "What's he doing?" Naruto said, "Kuchio's no jutsu," as his hand hit the ground and suddenly the entire area was covered in smoke, and Jiraiya had a smug look on his face until a voice said, "Jiraiya, why have you summoned me?" making the pervert pale and fall back on his butt. Tsunami asked, "What's going on and what was that noise?" As the smoke cleared, everyone looked where Naruto was standing and then slowly looked up and got bug-eyed, and Kiba said in a stuttering voice, "That's Gam." Jiraiya said, "Gambunta, the toad boss. He summoned him in one try. Amazing." Shino said, "My bugs are scared. I must hide," as he slowly backed away inside the house and looked out it from a window. Naruto, who was on Gambunta's head, jumped onto his nose and said, "Hey boss, the pervert did not call you, but I did. Remember me? I am the kid Dad used all those years ago." Gambunta looked at Naruto and said, "You have grown, but why have you summoned me and how?" "I mean, I did not detect any of the fox's chakra." Naruto said, "That was all me. The fox is dead now, but I am still alive. Long story, and I will tell you over some sake sometime. That is if you agree to let me become your subordinate. I will take any test you give me. If you want, we can have a test to see if you can free yourself from me before sunset, or a drinking contest. If I drink more, then agree to let me summon you and your kin. What do you say, boss? I know you are always master of the summoning, so please allow me to be your summoner." Gambunta chuckles and said, "I like you, kid, but if you want to be my summoner, I want to see how good you are. I want you to fight the pervert, and if you can last at least an hour against him, I will accept you." Naruto asked, "What if I knock him out before the hour? Do I still pass?" Gambunta chuckles at his enthusiasm and said, "Sure. I don't think you can though, but I give you guts for asking." Naruto chuckles and said, "Sit back and watch as I beat Erozanin with one combo," as he jumped down and said, "Sorry for any woman I offend, but I need this contract. Good night, Ero Sanin," as he puts his hands into a few seals and said, "Tsunade harem jutsu," and suddenly 220-year-old Tsunade appeared and began kissing each other. Jiraiya flew backwards with a nosebleed and passed out along with Kiba and Shino. Naruto heard Gambunta chuckle and said, "That was good, and if you survive the woman you may summon me, but I won't take you as my official subordinate until we drink together." Naruto said, "Deal, CYA boss." And Gambunta went up in smoke. Naruto turned and saw a pissed-off looking fox a beat red Hinata, who was in a Jiyuken stance. Naruto sighed and saw Tsunami blushing while rubbing her and said, "Tsunami, Inari on the floor behind you," making her stop and turn, seeing her son passed out with a shit-eating grin on his face. She looked down and said, "Sorry. Naruto waves his hand and said, "Relax, I understand being a lonely widow woman has needs. Anyways, you both should know better than to be mad at me for using that jutsu. After all, you both know the real me." Kurenai blinks and said, "What are you talking about, Naruto?" Naruto walks over and sats down on a now dead tree and said, "You had me fooled until I was on Gambunta's head. I know you're one also Hinata." Hinata stutters as she slowly steps out of her fighting stance. "What do you mean?" "I don't understand." Naruto said. The seal Hinata. "I may be an idiot a lot of the time, but I sure as hell would recognize my own masterpiece. Especially when I spent 4 years designing to keep a promise like that one. I know you're a sister and don't worry. I still will take whatever you test you want me to before I ask why, so relax, but don't give me any of that shit about you still don't know what I mean, because no one, not even Ruby, would know what I gave you to unite your clan, because I had learned to block the fox mentally at that time." Hinata sighed and asked, "How do you know it?" "I mean," Naruto said, "how do I know what I knew then? Simple, but like Kurenai, you can't tell any of the others until I am ready to tell them. You all get to have some fun with me, well, two can play that game. Deal." Hinata nods and Naruto said, "Oh, let's just say I met the one who made Ruby what she was and he gave me my knowledge from then as a gift, Miss Waterfall Girl." Hinata eeped, going beet red before passing out, and Naruto chuckles and said, "Now there's the Hinata I know. Well, the pervert's heartbeat is starting to get faster, so he's waking up again." As he walked over and picked Hinata up and grabbed Kurenai by her fur and carried both back into the house and up to their room. Once there, Kurenai asked, "How do I change back?" Naruto said, "Just imagine what you really look like in your human form and you will change. You will also Hinata, since you're a kitsune like the others. It's a protection deal Inari gave all human kitsune. If you don't imagine yourself as a normal one-tail fox, though, you will appear as your true fox form with up to 6 tails, so be careful using it." Both women nod and Naruto said, "Well, you both should get ready. I want to get the bridge finished fast because I still have me stuff to do." As he shook his head, Hinata asked, "What's wrong, Naruto?" Naruto said, "Haku came to see what Gambunta was here for, an arrow Sanin just tried to grope her." Kurenai said, "That's it, Naruto. How are you able to detect stuff like that so easily when not even I can?" Naruto looked around and said, "Okay, you want to know how? Both of you imagine yourself as foxes but don't stop at one tail. I will do the same and then tell you, all right." Both women looked at each other and both started to change, and Kurenai had 4 tails while Hinata had 3. Naruto said, "That's good. Kurenai has the ability to use 3 elements right now and Hinata has 2 elements. Well, it's my turn." As he slowly started to change and appeared as a blonde 10-tail fox, making both women gasp. Naruto opened his eyes and said, "I am able to use all 8 of the elements. The first tail is the tail of life that all living things have, and the 10th tail marks me as Inari avatar. The reason I am able to sense things that you can't right now is I have learned to control the natural chakra in the environment, so I can tell you exactly what is happening for about 25 yards from me if it is not a lot to take in, and since I recognize both arrow Sanin's and Haku chakra signature and felt them waver a moment, I know what happened. That is why I could detect them as well as Kiba and Shino earlier. I only can do it when I am calm though, so I still have to work on doing it in combat, and my range is very short, so it's mostly a way to bug the hell out of people who think they can sneak on me outside of combat, but that's why. It's also why you and Shino were unable to get a read on me when I came disguised as the monk. Now let's change back as someone's coming." As he changed back to his human form, and the woman did also, just as a knock was heard on the door. Kurenai checked to make sure everyone was done and she said, "Yes." Tazuna voice said, "Oi, tell that blonde Gaki he needs to clean up the mess in my yard and I am ready to go to the bridge." Naruto said, Yeah, you stupid drunk bastard. Let's go, and don't worry. Your yard will be good this afternoon." As he opened the door, walking past Tazuna. Kurenai and Hinata giggled at the sweat dropping Tazuna and both got ready and followed Naruto outside. Naruto walked outside and saw Jiraiya on the ground holding his face, and saw Haku, Zabuza and the demon brothers, and said, "Oi, Arrow Sanin. I got a favor to ask." Jiraiya said, "Quit calling me that." Naruto said, "Not until you give up peeking. Anyways, I want you to take these 4 to Konoha for me and guarantee them to see the Hokage to join Konoha." Jiraiya got up and rubbed his chin and asked, "Why do they want to join Konoha?" "I mean, they are missing nins and one did try to kill the Mizukage. I mean, why should the Hokage trust them?" Naruto saw Zabuza getting nervous and said, relaxed Zabuza. The reason is simple. I have something Zabuza wants and in exchange he is willing to work for Konoha. Besides, Konoha Anbu Suk right now as an academy student could paint the entire Hokage mountain in daylight and not get caught from so many years of peace, and having a team of silent assassin devise a brand new training program to help them improve not only stealth but detection would be wise. Especially with a snake moving into the leaves soon. Jiraiya went wide-eyed a moment and said, I see. Alraigaki, you win. I guarantee them a meeting with the Hokage, and if he refuses to let them join I will give them safe passage to anywhere in the elemental country under my protection. Deal. As he looked at Zabuza who nods and Naruto said, let me write a scroll for the old man to explain something and then you five can head out. I'm going to stay and come back with Team 8. That reminds me. Zabuza, do you know either Doryu Juheiki, Earth-style rampart, or Suoro no Jutsu, water prison technique? Zabuza said. I know Suoro no Jutsu, why? Naruto, who had pulled out a scroll and was writing on it, said, would you be willing to tell me how to do it or the hand signs? I have a bet with a slug and I just need to learn those two jutsu to win. Zabuza asked, do you have an affinity for water? Naruto said, yes. Jiraiya said, I thought you only had wind. That's what your file said when the Hokage asked me to teach you. Naruto said, you would be surprised what I actually have, but yeah, I have water also, so can I get that jutsu? As he seals the scroll and tosses it to Jiraiya, who catches it and puts it away. Zabuza said, sure, the hand signs are snake, ram, snake, horse, rabbit, snake, ram, horse, snake, rabbit, snake, and two hands out. Good luck. As he grabbed his sword and said, come on pervert and grope my adopted daughter Aegean and I will make sure to take your head off, and I don't mean the one on your shoulder. Jiraiya paled and nods and starts to walk away, and he asked, so how sure are you about it? The snake, I mean. Naruto said, as sure as I know my name came from the only non-erotic book you ever wrote. That's sure. Jiraiya nods and said, when you get back we are having a drink and talk, kid. I want to know where you really stand. Naruto said, sure, but after the exams. Jiraiya shakes his head okay as he walks away with the others. Once they were gone, Kurenai asked, so why are you revealing so much? I mean we can't, so why are you? Naruto smiled and said, secret. You find out when we get back to Konoha. Shino walks out and Naruto puts his hand in a hand sign and said, Kujbunshin no Jutsu. And one clone appeared and Naruto said, go with Team 8 to the bridge while I clean up my mess. The clone nods and Kurenai asked, how come you don't have the clone stay and you come? Naruto said, I got something I need to do before then. If you don't mind, Tsunami, would you go with the team also? Don't worry about Inari as I will take care of him. Okay. Tsunami looked unsure a moment and saw her son still passed out and said, you sure he will be alright? Naruto said, yeah, but he needs someone to talk to about what he's been feeling. I am sure you all noticed how he was basically a walking zombie last night after Gato died. His whole world has been shook to the core, so I thought I would talk to him while I clean up this mess and help him understand a few things. Kurenai smiled and Hinata said, he will be alright, Tsunami. Naruto-kun never goes back on his word. That's his Nindo. Naruto smiled and said, one of them. Now go on and get. I am sure you all have a lot of happy workers waiting on you at the bridge now that Gato's dead. Tazuna said, you heard the Gaki. I am not paying you to sit on your asses. Naruto said, you're not paying them anything, you drunk bastard. You still owe them the difference between a C rank and an A- rank plus the interest that is compounded daily, so I say you better hurry with the bridge and finish the mission or you may wind up never having enough to buy sake Aegean. Tazuna paled and said, yes, let's go. As he started to jog away. Kiba began laughing and said, that's a good joke, Naruto. Naruto raises an eyebrow and said, I wasn't joking. That's the real effect, but also the other side is if you delay the client with your lack of duty, then you could not only lose your pay but have to reimburse the client, so take your time, dog breath. Kiba paled and screamed, come on Akamaru, let's get going. As he already was running near top speed. Shino chuckled and said, logic is the best humor. Naruto looked at Shino and said, remind me, Aegean, who actually controls the talking in your body. You or the bugs? Shino said, I do. Naruto said, I see. I was wondering because a bug who actually thought on something beyond the basics would be purely illogical. As he raises an eyebrow. Shino smirked and said, I am glad to see your sense of humor is still yours and not one of your alter personalities. Naruto said, thanks, but you probably notice my biggest change was my calm, commanding spirit under pressure. Anyways, the others have gone without you, and I have a lot of work to do. Try and have everyone on the bridge come back here around 3 p.m. today for a surprise. Shino nods and said, good luck. The kid is going to be a handful. Naruto said, no more than me. Now get going. Shino nods and uses his bug shushin to disappear. Once he was gone, Naruto put his hands into a seal Aegean and said, Tajukage no Jutsu. And the area was suddenly covered with clones who immediately got to work doing what Naruto had thought of. He turned and walked to Inari and said, all right kid, get up. We got some stuff to talk about. Inari slowly opened his eyes and said, so you knew I was faking. Naruto chuckles and said, we all knew except your mom and grandfather. Now what's on your mind? Inari asked. Why? Why did you show up and kill Gato? Why when you had nothing to do with the people of Wave? Naruto changed his shape from his human form to that of a 10-tailed fox, making Inari go wide-eyed and said, that's is where you were wrong, Inari. You see, I may not know the people here personally, but I can see the pain they all felt. I can hear the heartache each holds, and I taste the bitterness of sadness that each of them have. I know about Kaiza and what he was to you. Even though him and your mom were only friends, he was like a father to you, right? Inari nods and Naruto walks over and sats down on his lap and said, when Gato killed him you were afraid for not only yourself but your mom and grandfather. Do you remember when Kaiza told you why he saved the man in the water that day? The people of Wave were his precious people, so he found the strength to do what others said could not be done. When he died you thought he lied about that, right? Inari looked down and nodded sadly, and Naruto said, no, he told the truth and he proved it that day also, even though he died. You know why? His sacrifice showed your grandfather the strength he needed to stand against Gato and build that bridge. Now that strength he showed him has not only stopped Gato but is saving this country. You also have that strength inside your heart. You just have to realize yourself what is most important and do everything you can to protect it. That is what I did yesterday. I came to save not only my friends but also my family. In a way you are family to me also. Inari went wide-eyed and said, I am family to you. Naruto chuckled and said, yes. When I look at you I see me when I was younger. Even though our hair and eyes are different, the will you have that drives you to continue even when things were tough is the same will I have. It's called the will of fire. Inari said, but I always cried and screamed at everyone saying it was useless. How can you say that I have this will of fire? Naruto looked up at his and jumped off a moment and changed back human and reached into his pocket and pulled out 2 seeds. He said, I will show you. These seeds represent you and me, okay? Inari nods, listening in while looking. Naruto puts one in each hand and closes his eyes, and the one in his right hand slowly starts to grow and into a plant and then arose, and Naruto said, now you see, this one is me. I found what was precious to me and I show my strength to the world. I started out just like you did, and as you can see this other seed is slowly starting its own growth. It may not grow as big as mine, but it might grow even bigger into. And the seed kept growing and growing, and soon it was an entire rose bush instead of a single rose, and Naruto said, you may become something I could only dream on. These seeds both grew up, and one dreamed the other would surpass it once it was gone, like any father would wish of his son. That's the way of the world. Sometimes it shoves you down so hard you never want to get back up, but if you can get back up you can show the world you never back down, and you will protect that which is precious to you. Do you understand? Inari smiled and said, I think so. Naruto said, good, now I got a job for you. Oi, you, the dipshit clone who is looking for water, go with Inari here and spread word to everyone in the village to be here at 3 p.m. this afternoon. All men, women and children must come to the celebration. Now go. The clone said, all right boss. Come on kid. Inari said, okay Otu-san father. As he ran ahead of the stunned clone, and Naruto paled and said, I don't think he got it right after all. I hope Tsunami don't kill me for him misunderstanding. Oh well, worry about it later. Time to get to work. as he looked at the clone trying to catch up to the running Inari before standing up and getting to work. At 3 p.m. as instructed, Shino had everyone from the bridge show up at Tazuna's house, and the sight that greeted everyone was not what they expected. Instead of knocked down trees and stumps like they had expected, they saw something totally different. There were tables all set with wooden bowls and chopsticks, and around 40 monks and priestess walking around the tables pouring vegetable ramen in the bowls, allowing all the people of the town to come and eat, while one monk and one priestess sang a strange but friendly hymn of the faith from FFX. There were also several monks and priestess cooking from 4 big clay pots about 3 foot tall each, and another 2 were making the noodles from flour. Hiba asked, "What's going on here?" Naruto walked over and said, "Well, when I cleaning up, these monks and priestesses came from the temple of Inari and helped. I used my clones to set up a few things, but they did most of the work." As he smiled at them, a monk came over and said, "May Inari smile upon you. Please come and eat and restore not only your health but your spirits." As he motioned toward the table, the workers all did not need to be told twice as they went to the table to get something to eat. The monks served them and gave them kind words. Naruto said, "Well, go on, go on. I already ate and it's pretty good. There's plenty for everyone." Hiba and Shino went to eat with Hinata also, and Tazuna said, "I don't know how we will ever be able to thank you and them. This is just too much." Naruto said, "It all comes with the blessing of the Kitsune god Inari. Please go and enjoy your meal." He walked over and got some as well. Tsunami looked at Naruto and said, "Where's Inari? I mean, I don't see him." Naruto said, "Look behind you and look up." Tsunami and Kurenai turned and both gasped as they saw Inari smiling at them, hanging upside down on a tree branch, and Kurenai said, "You taught him the tree climbing exercise." Naruto sighed and said, "It was the only way I could get him to stop." Tsunami said, "Inari, get your butt down here this instant." Inari said, "What, mom? I can't hear you all the way up here." Naruto said, "Inari, don't make me come up there and get you. Since your mother's here, go eat with her." In a commanding voice, Inari eeped and ran down the tree and said, "Sorry Otusan, come on Okasan, let's eat." As he grabbed her hand and dragged her to a table with 2 seats. Naruto slapped his forehead and said, "I think I created a monster." Kurenai looked at him and asked, "What exactly did you tell him, Naruto?" Naruto sighed and told her word for word what he said, and then finished with, "And he started calling me father. Every time I turn around, it's father, let's do this, father, let's do that, father, teach me this and that." Finally, I gave up and showed him how to call his chakra and then to climb a tree. I thought he would be all day while I finished everything, but he got it down in half an hour. Kurenai said, "You know why don't you? He never used chakra before today, so his reserves are small, so he has nearly perfect chakra control." "Well, at least you changed his view, but I don't know how you're going to get out of him calling you dad." Naruto sighed and said, "Why don't you go eat? I am sure you're tired." Kurenai nods and walks over and eats, and Naruto walks toward the house and enters to go upstairs. Once he's inside, a priest stands up and all the others stop, and he said, "People of Wave, I am sorry, but it is time for me and the rest of my companions to leave. You may continue to feast and enjoy your meal, and know that Inari is smiling down upon you all. We must return to our temple now. Thank you for having us. Goodbye and best wishes." As he turned and started walking away, followed by the rest of the priest and priestesses. After they were gone, the ones who were finished helped serve the ones who were not, and around 6 p.m. they all left with full stomachs and smiles. After they were gone, Naruto came out and saw everyone go back inside, and he started doing hand signs and slammed his hands on the ground while saying, "Yomi Numa, swamp of the underworld," and a huge swamp formed under the tables and the mess from cooking as well as the cooking area, and it all sank into the earth. Naruto looked behind him and saw that everyone was inside, and he closed his eyes and put his hands on the ground and said, "Mokuden, growth," and sent a chakra pulse through the ground, and the grass sprang back up where the mud and dirt from the swamp had been. He then turned and walked back in the house, and he saw Tsunami sitting on a couch, and she said, Naruto, can I speak with you and Kurenai privately?" Naruto said, "Sure, let me get her." As he thought, well, time to face the firing squad. As he walked up the stairs and got Kurenai, and both came back downstairs. Tsunami turned and walked down a small hallway and said, "Follow me please." as she led to the end of the hall and opened the door on the right. Naruto and Kurenai both followed her into the room and saw her standing there with her back to them, and she said, "Please close the door. I don't want anyone hearing what we say." Naruto said, "Kurenai, can you?" She said, "Yeah, don't worry, I will put up a privacy jutsu also." As she puts one up quickly, and Naruto, who was looking at Kurenai at the moment, turned and went wide-eyed, as standing there as she was before was Tsunami, but now her dress was on the floor at her feet and she was still facing away from them. Naruto turned to Kurenai, who was also shocked, and she said, Tsunami, what's going on?" Tsunami looked down and slowly turned around, not looking at either of them, and said, I don't know how to say this, but I want you both." Naruto blinked and thought, "Oh. Okay. That's not what I was expecting." Kurenai blinked and said, "Excuse me. I don't think I follow." Tsunami said, still looking down, "I said I want you both. I can't help it. I keep finding myself looking at you both and thinking of how I want you to touch me and hold me. I have been so lonely, and I see the way you both look at each other, and I want to feel that love, just once. I have only been with one man my entire life, and that was Inari father, and I don't even remember it. I am not a young woman anymore, and I want to feel love from another just once. Please. I won't ever ask Aegean, but I beg of you, please. I am so lonely." And Kurenai sighed and said, "Enough," as she looked at the wall as both Naruto and Tsunami looked at her. Kurenai said, "It's not that simple, Tsunami. I mean, I know what you feel. I felt it for more years than you would believe, and until I fell for Naruto here I was the same, so I know what you're going to say. I could tell ever since the first time I laid eyes on you. You need comfort so bad you would die for it and would do anything for just a moment of it." As she looked at Tsunami and saw the look of understanding in the other woman's eyes. Naruto said, "Tsunami, I wish I could help you, but I." Kurenai said, "Shut up a moment, Naruto. Tsunami, come here." Tsunami walked slowly toward Kurenai, who raised both her hands and put one over her head and the other over her heart and said, "Close your eyes." Tsunami closed her eyes and Kurenai did also and said, "Sisters of the circle, connection of the past, connections of the future, we connect." And both women blinked and found themselves in a chamber, and Kurenai said, "I call all the sisters for a meeting." Slowly, one by one, 8 other figures appeared, and Kurenai said, "Sisters, I think most of you know this woman beside me. She has asked for a chance to be with both myself and Naruto." Naruto, being the guy he is, was about to say no because of his devotion to us, but I called you all here to decide. Should she join us? Sakura said, "I have no problem with her because I know she is a kind woman. I met her in my past, but she would have to know everything." Ruby stepped forward and said, "Tsunami, I go by the name Ruby. I am current female leader of the Kitsunes. I assume you know some of us to make this request. I will show you what we are proposing. If you agree, you will become one of us. You will no longer be a human but become a Kitsune. You will be loyal to only us and Naruto. Do you understand?" Tsunami looked scared a moment and said after she calmed herself, "Show me." Ruby put her hand on Tsunami's head and Tsunami suddenly saw things, and she slowly, after what seemed like forever, said, "I understand the truth. So that is how he knew Zabuza and the others would be here and why you each are what you are. I saw my other self and I can't help but say I feel even more for him and her. Please allow me to join." Kurenai looked around and saw each nod, and she said, "Very well, it will be Naruto's decision, but I will tell him the others agree, so you must respect his wish. I would not do this normally, but if it was not for him I would end up just like you are now. No woman should feel that loneliness. Let's return." And in a flash both women found themselves back in Tsunami bedroom. Naruto asked, "Are you both all right? You both been standing there a few seconds." Kurenai said, "Naruto, the sisters have agreed to allow her to join, but you have final decision. What do you decide?" Naruto looked at Kurenai and then Tsunami and said, "But won't one of you have to?" Kurenai said, "Don't worry. It's taken care of. What is your decision?" Naruto sighed and looked at Tsunami and saw the pleading look and said,